right, welcome everybody to another episode of Banter on the Rocks. We got Tim, John here for another great episode. Got a lot going on here in SoCal. There's a lot going on. We'll talk a little bit about that. NorCal, I think you guys might be experiencing just a wind, or are you guys even experiencing one?
To be honest with you, not even.
No.
I hate to say it, the weather's been phenomenal. It's no rain even, not a cloud in the
That's
sky
good.
usually.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, we're thinking of everybody in SoCal for sure,
Yeah.
and I'm keeping up to date every day. So
Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that just because it affects us, affects home. Tim, used to live down here in
mhm.
SoCal, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We got some hot takes. NFL, we got the first season of the playoffs, wild card week. So we'll talk a little bit about our predictions, prep for next week, and also some takes because there's a lot of news going around the NFL. So some good takes for us to discuss. And then we'll talk about some movie adaptations. Because it's that time of the year. It's a new year. Like we mentioned last week, it's award season. So you think about movies, and we have a fun little topic with movies. So we got a fun-filled, interesting episode this week. But before we continue, wanted to share a few things. We are brand ambassadors with Find the Good brand. Find the Good brand gives 10% back to mental health organization or Mental Health of America organization. Tim's wearing his hoodie. Find the Good. Always a fun, nice, comfortable hoodie. If you order using our code BANTER805, you will get 10% off your order. So that's 10% to mental health, 10% to your pocket. So use it. They got some new merch. They've restocked on quite a few things as well. So check it out. Like I've always mentioned, good quality tees, sweaters, hats. Um, but yeah, if you guys want to check out the link, it's in our description below. The corduroy hat, find the good. Check them out. Like I said, it's a good brand, good cause, great message. Especially in times like right now, we really want to find the good with what's going on. But before we get on to our first take and topic, we'll get started with our banter drink of the week. And this week, I'm going simple. Needed a bigger cup just because it's been a crazy week with some of these fires work. So doing just my typical tequila and orange juice, but in a larger size today.
Good for you, John. Good for you. Going gin and tonic. A customer of mine gave me some fresh picked lemons, so I
Oh,
added
nice.
that into the glass as
Oh,
well. Nice little added touch. Kind
yeah.
of more of a sweet lemon, I guess, more on the Meyer side, but hey, it's delicious in the drink. Great added touch. And John, it was your birthday a couple days ago.
Yes. Thank
Happy
you.
birthday to you.
Thank
My
you.
birthday is tomorrow. Shout out
Yeah.
January birthdays.
Early
Love it.
birthday.
Yes,
Shout
yes.
outs.
Capricorns unite.
Yes.
But happy birthday, John.
Yeah. Happy
Definitely want
birthday
to
to
mention
you.
that, buddy.
Yeah. By the
Absolutely.
time this episode comes out, it'll be your birthday too. Would have passed. So happy birthday,
Uh,
Tim. Happy
is
birthday to
33 mid 30s? Am I there?
yeah. No, I think it's like 34. Like I said,
Ah, perfect. My guy.
I
Thank you.
hit 38. A lot of people thought I hit 39. I felt a little insulted.
Oh,
Even my own mom
unbelievable.
thought I was 39 for some reason. Had to
Once you get
correct
a kid,
her.
man.
I
Once you
know.
get kids. Yeah.
I probably
Killers have
feel and
ears.
look like I'm 39, 40, but yeah, 38, going through. I think once you hit like 36, you go through like these midlife crises every now and then. Went through it, feel a lot better now. So, getting on with the new year, with the birthday. Once your birthday passes, you're good. But yeah,
Yep.
happy early birthday, Tim. Great month to be born. All the Capricorns
Yes.
out there listening, happy birthday. If it's already been your birthday, if it's gonna be, happy early birthday. Um, but we'll get started with the episode. And first, I think we just wanted to take some time to sort of discuss a little bit about these fires and especially the Palisade fire. It's something that occurred here in SoCal. And from what I've seen, it's going to be one of the top three most devastating fires here in California as of today. And, winds are picking up. So who knows if it's going to could get bigger. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we don't see much more damage from these fires. But, that the Santa Anita winds, the way it is in SoCal, it is always a little dangerous. So hopefully we we avoid a lot of it. But I think one of the things I wanted to take some time is sort of talking to you, Tim. You were in the fire academy, went through quite a bit of fire training, and just, what do you think, or what are a lot of these firefighters going through right now? Because there's a lot of firefighters from across the states and even other states and even countries. I saw Mexico sending some of their firefighters in. So, what's going down, down there?
Um, I think just through even the academy, and then I did get an offer to join a mop-up crew called the Sundowners in Ventura County way back when. I wasn't able to join the crew because it was in lieu of joining the academy, and I was just
Hmm.
accepted to the academy and decided to move on to there. But even the training for just going out for a mop-up crew, for example.
Hmm.
Above that, you have hot shot crews,
Ourselves.
repelling, jumping out of helicopters into,
Hmm.
the middle of fires. So, there's many levels to it, Cal Fire, and then, they ask worldwide. We're getting planes from Canada that
Hmm.
fly down here. You have, like you mentioned, Mexican firefighters. I believe some from South Africa have
Hmm.
joined. So, it's a unbelievable sight to see, how united just firefighters
Yeah.
worldwide are. And that's incredible. And I'm sure it brings a ton of relief to the local firefighters that are
Hmm.
joining. We've NorCal has sent quite a few crews down south. I've seen some interviews with, captains from Sacramento area.
Hmm.
And, I think the big thing when it comes to, Santa Ana winds in general and just the atmosphere it provides, it's just unbelievably windy. It's unbelievably dry,
Hmm.
to the point where, when I live down there, and it's very common for many people, hands get extremely chapped. Like,
Yes, they do.
you go out and do anything and your knuckles split in half, basically.
Hmm.
I'd have lines through my knuckles just being outside. And, it's if it's doing that to your skin, just imagine what it's doing to, the atmosphere, all that
Hmm.
brush. There's been very little rain in SoCal,
Hmm.
so far this year and even last year. Maybe there's a little bit more, but in general, just the vegetation is there. And so a lot of, just the burns and just fighting against these elements, it can make firefighters feel, probably one,
Hmm.
frustrated. There's rumors going around of, I don't want to point fingers. I don't think it's the time
Hmm.
to do
Yeah.
that. But, there's a lack of water in certain areas
Hmm.
is been something that's been talked about amongst captains for LA City and LA County fire chiefs as well.
Hmm.
News reports regarding it where, they try to access hydrants and water that evidently has not been existent. So, there's been lots of video of firefighters grabbing cones, putting their end on or putting their
Yeah.
hand on, the open end of it, scooping it, shoveling it over, using bags, same
Hmm.
exact thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a crazy sight to see. So, I think that explains a lot where maybe the access in some areas is really difficult to get. And when it comes to rigorous terrain, I know in the Palisades, it's very mountainous in the Santa
Hmm.
Monica Mountains. It can be tough to access and create just a ton of difficulty, especially with winds that are offshore winds going towards the ocean. It can ignite fires miles away. It can carry embers miles away, and it's just so unbelievably hard to control, no matter the equipment you have.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that the ocean's right there, and I think I'm going to kind of dive a little bit separate with just something else I saw with I believe it was Shiloh Sanders. He was on a podcast and he had mentioned he didn't get why wildfires get to the extent that they are.
Hmm.
I think if you go and experience Santa Ana winds on peaks, mountainous
Oh
terrain,
yeah.
you'll see why. They're hurricane force winds. Like I think that they
Hmm.
recorded over 100 miles an hour in the
Yeah.
most recent Santa Ana event.
Hmm.
Um, those conditions are ridiculous. And with vegetation as dry as it is, stuff lights up so quickly
Hmm.
and it is unbelievably hard to control. There's preventative measures where, forestry crews can go in and try mop up for, off
Yeah.
season, back burns where, they're igniting it in controlled burn formats. They're
Hmm.
doing it up north quite often. I love to see that
Yeah.
because, it just every heavily vegetated areas, it helps a lot. So, it's always a pleasant sight to see. And, it's good to know when you can look it up and just rule it out to being that
Yeah.
versus an actual like
An actual
wildfire
like wildfire, yeah.
because it's happened. But, one thing with Shiloh, he was just kind of confused on that. And, one thing I kind of wanted to speak out, just in the public eye is just, no matter the equipment you have, flying a God, what is it, like a DC-10 or an AC-10?
Hmm.
I forget the type of plane it is. It's super difficult to do that in those winds.
Yeah.
Likewise with helicopters, and then just the terrain that's there. Helicopters, airplane formats
Hmm.
are the best way to combat them when it's like that. Or else, you gotta think number one, safety of your crew,
Hmm.
safety of human life is number one. Always,
Yeah.
always, always, always. So you're not going to put your crew in a crazy situation where they're hiking up a mountain
Hmm.
that's just a trail. They're not going to be able to get out if winds change. It's unpredictable. So
Yeah.
planes are the number one way to fight back. And when winds are that crazy, it's very difficult to control it because just think you're dropping water or fire retardant into an area, that wind is just whipping it to
Yeah.
places you don't want to go. Obviously, these are trained professionals. I saw a really sick clip of a helicopter. I'm sure you've seen it, John, of just the perfect drop, and it
Hmm.
just totally extinguished the fire.
Yeah.
And it's so badass. Those guys are so sick.
Yeah.
True heroes, and it's such a badass skill to have to be able to fly a plane like that or a helicopter and just nail it.
Yeah.
Especially in those conditions. So I hope that gives a little bit of I
Hmm.
guess a little bit more info on why it's so difficult.
Hmm.
And obviously there's been some difficulties for firefighters, but I'm sure
Yeah.
frustrations, all in all, frustration, fatigue,
Hmm.
is a big one. So it's welcome to see more assistance.
Yeah. No, yeah, it seems like they're doing a lot, and kudos out to them. I like seeing all these like companies, food places. I saw like In and Out going to give out food to the, firefighters, first responders, people out there. So great job. Those planes, I saw some videos of like the big old planes going into the ocean, picking up water like full speed and then going out. I like they are talented to do that. And the I you know I'd always see that in like the force of that water. I always knew it was strong, but I never knew how strong until I saw a video recently of them dropping that water onto a car and how it crushed a car. And I was like, holy sh, because I'd always think like, oh, you could just stand under it, you'll have water, hit you. It's like, no, it'll cut you in half probably,
Oh
so
yeah.
it's insane.
It
So,
absolutely is. And one thing is to watch it up close is really sick. I've been lucky enough, well, lucky enough, quote unquote, because it's really cool and fascinating to watch. But of
mhm,
course, wildfire was about. But I was with my parents when we would first moved to SoCal. I think it was in eighth or ninth grade,
mhm,
and we were eating lunch or dinner on Westlake Lake,
mhm,
and a helicopter came in. Used its basket. I believe at that point in time, the basket kind of just hovered over the water
yeah,
gently, scooped up as much water as it could, took that basket up to a mountain where an active wildfire was going on, kind of above Canaan Road.
okay,
There's
yeah,
one kind of peaked mountain over
mhm,
there, and that's where the fire was, and they dropped it right on there. And just watching him go from the lake, scooping up that water, going, and then he went
mhm,
back probably three times, and it
yeah,
was so fascinating and cool to watch.
yeah,
And just the work that they do is phenomenal. It's a
yeah,
very cool skill to have, and much needed.
mhm,
Another quick thing I will mention about these wildfires too, John, is in my wildfire fire science class, he kind of talked about, or our instructor talked about how wildfires back in, the 30s, 40s, 50s back in LA,
mhm,
there wasn't a whole lot to combat it. A lot of these helicopters,
mhm,
obviously planes weren't really around then. So it was just kind of your general fire truck and try to combat it from there. Santa Ana winds, happened back then too. And there wasn't a whole lot to combat it. So oftentimes they would let it burn all the way through to the ocean. The
yeah,
scary part about how much these winds are impacting, I don't know if it's, climate change, whatever you want to attribute it to. I don't
mhm,
really care. But obviously it's getting to a point where it's tough to control because we have all
mhm,
this equipment and we're at the point where we're still letting it burn all the way to the ocean.
yeah,
So even with all this modern tech, it is a little frightening, to
yeah.
kind of see how quick these things can move about. So that's one other point I wanted to bring up for sure.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how these fires get started and how they spread because, I think in my lifetime I never thought I would experience something like this. And I'm going to say it again because in 2017 here in Ventura County, we had the Thomas fires, which that took out so much. And just seeing that in the backyard, I think it affected a lot of people. Um, and it's insane, and having it happen again, like you say, who knows what's causing it? Who knows why they're happening a lot more often than in the past? Because, like I say, I've been born and raised in this county, and these last two incidents are the two around this area that I've, in my 38 years that have happened. Where were all the fires before that? Why weren't they spreading the way they are now? Because, like you mentioned, Santa Ana winds, they were always around. Those have never gone away. There's always a season for them. So it was crazy. And I think one of the big things I wanted to talk about, and just what sort of I've looked into is just rebuilding, because we've seen it's been, I want to say over like 5,000 homes that have been lost, and that number could continue to grow with, the wind still picking up these next few days here. And seeing the reports of, prior to this fire, how much, or not even how much, how long it would take some people in LA County to remodel their home, to make changes, to add additions to their property. It would take about a year or more to get permits just to do minor things. Now, imagine all these people wanting to rebuild. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it's going to take a long time because 5,000 plus people are going to be submitting permits of I want to rebuild, and who knows what, standards and what requirements they're going to want to have to meet now to build a home in these fire, you know, peak areas. So it's crazy, and it's one of the things I'm very really interested in seeing. It's unfortunate, I think, and I hate to say it's going to suck for a lot of people because I think it's going to be really hard to rebuild, but I'm just interested to see how it's going to happen because these are multi-million dollar homes with the people that have the funds to build a home, and let's see how fast they can do it because then you can think of other places that aren't as financially stable as the Palisades, and when their homes burn, what struggles they might be going through.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and that's a great point is, these permits and how quickly they can, approve them. And you kind of hope that due to this predicament that maybe there's some expedited process that they can just move forward
Mhm.
as long as it's, of course, like, I don't know, proper zoning, things like that.
Yeah.
And just kind of let these, let these people kind of get back to their norm.
Mhm.
Same thing with schools. A
Mhm.
couple schools burned down during
Yeah.
this. I think Pali High School is one of
Probably,
them.
yeah.
Elementary schools. it's devastating. I think I saw one TikTok regarding that where a Palisades resident ran up to Gavin Newsom and asked him, repeatedly, my kid's school just burned down. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Hmm.
Who are you calling? You have to do something about this, blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah. And, I guess he was trying to get in touch with, I mean, President Biden at that time. And,
Yeah.
there's no reception for him. And, I guess, the video kind of went on, but it's a franticness.
Hmm.
And I to bring up, I guess, something kind of sports related in a way here with JJ Redick.
Hmm.
I know I shared a video with you, John, about this,
Yeah.
um, he spoke on just the fact of nothing monetary.
Hmm.
It's all memories. And he spoke on a picture his son drew in art class, and they had it hung at the top of his staircase. And
Hmm.
he spoke on that, and it's kind of just something that's irreplaceable that unfortunately
Hmm.
didn't make it in the fire.
Yeah.
And that's what he's thinking of, and he got teary-eyed and
Hmm.
choked up speaking on it. And he's just one example. And it's devastating to hear about. I think just all of that loss of of course, life is what you think about most
Hmm.
in those scenarios, but then it's like what's most precious to you
Yeah.
besides that. Um, and then of course rebuilding all of those memories and starting fresh, and that's a process. And um, I just yeah, I can't imagine where they're going to start.
Hmm.
I think it's really a tough thought. Me and Jen, just to get even just a personal example, the Wolsey fire back in I believe
Hmm.
it was 2019.
Yeah.
Um, we evacuated from our home during that time, and I woke up Jen and the kids at God, probably 2 in the morning. The fire started out in Simi, and all of a sudden it peaked over Oak Park.
Hmm.
That's kind of westerly going, and Santa Ana event. And,
Yep.
and I could see just the orange glow in the sky. The smoke was so it woke me.
Hmm.
How thick the smoke was. All the windows were closed, but it still woke me up. And
It's yeah.
we only had our son at the time, and we just packed the car with everything that was precious to us. We have a
Hmm.
file folder of everything, and just close near and dear photos
Hmm.
and stuff like that. And we loaded the car, and hey, shout out to
Yeah.
your sister and your
Yeah.
brother-in-law who took us in for that evening. And even the drive out there though to where they lived at that time. And
Hmm.
um, it's crazy to see just areas that you see on a day-to-day basis with 20-foot flames above them.
Hmm.
Thousand Oaks had that. And I remember texting the group chat just like, hey, you guys be safe.
Yeah.
Flames are massive. I hope you guys are paying attention because the fire can creep up so quick. And that's all anybody can think of is just grabbing what's most personable
Hmm.
and running, and then rebuilding is
Hmm.
second to that. So sorry to get kind
No,
of
yeah.
tailwind there, John, but it's all the
It,
thoughts of everybody, and here's a
yeah.
rebuild.
Yeah, and I think that's the thoughts we have about all those people that had to leave. How many people left their home with that same mindset, and I think they were a lot closer to it, so they might have not had as much time as probably other people did, above like however close to the fire you are. So, and not knowing if all those other memories are going to be there. So it's like a lost drive when you're leaving, in those situations. So yeah, I think our heart goes out to all of them, unfortunate losing their homes, their property, some people I think lost pets, and there have been some fatalities, so it's unfortunate. And I think one of the follow-up questions I had started to discuss, and you brought it up a bit. For me is like, is there a way that you think we could prevent this in the future here in SoCal? Like you mentioned, the controlled fires that the hotshots do. Is that something you think that we could keep up during this time of the year, Santa Ana winds to sort of prevent these fires from building up? Because there is a lot of dry brush. Sometimes I drive the freeway right now, 101, and I look at the mountains and I'm like, man, that's just a lot of fuel for a fire. If something catches, it's not going to be good. And it's like, how can we prevent it?
Yeah, no, and I think just kind of knowing your surroundings. If you
Hmm.
have, for example, a backyard with a ton of brush, most oftentimes counties require you to cut that brush within a certain distance of your home, and it's county city inspected. So I think just continuing that is extremely important. As mentioned before, back burns, controlled burns
Hmm.
is just so I think it's huge because it burns off a lot of those low-lying
Hmm.
shrubs and kindling that then ignites the larger vegetation, which then
Yeah.
with wind events like the Santa Anas carry those embers because it's at a higher peak and carries
Hmm.
them miles away and reignites. So I think controlled burns are a big one. Just kind of maybe cutting down dead forestry
Yeah.
and just kind of keeping up to date with that because like we mentioned, Santa Anas will always happen,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Chapped skin, yeah,
It's
it's
not going
there.
away. It's not going away at all. And
It's
yeah.
not.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I thought about too, and I think it's when the Thomas fires happened. I was always like, okay, if I owned a home, and I saw TikTok, I didn't think someone created it, but for me, it's like creating a sprinkler system around my house that like would turn on, hit my roof, hit all the walls, and just keep it going during a fire. Um, I've heard people saying it's a waste of water, save the water for the firefighters. Any information you have, Tim, with something like that, an invention that just sort of keeps your house wet and not dry, do you think that could help save your house in a type of fire like this?
I think most definitely. There was a great example of that. I forget where. I think it was a Palisades home. The guy had or gal or family
Hmm.
had a sprinkler system built into their roof, I believe,
Hmm.
that just kind of like a drip system,
Hmm.
and I believe it just constantly watered down their roof, and their house lived on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they had a surrounding sprinkler system that just
Hmm.
kept everything constantly wet and just turned it on, and it
Hmm.
prevented their house from burning down. They have a house to
Yeah.
go back to. I think similarly, um, what is it, Malibu Safari?
Hmm.
I want to say they back with the Woolsey fire that ripped through there. They had a similar system where it was just a constantly running sprinkler system for
Hmm.
their vicinity, and nothing I believe was really touched.
Right. Okay.
And I think if you have access to it and willing to foot probably an extraordinary bill,
Yeah.
which not a lot of people have the means to,
Hmm.
it will help.
It will.
And I
Okay.
sincerely hope maybe this is the next business to get into
Hmm.
if you're into that stuff, of building some type of drip system for your roof to prevent this. I think
Hmm.
California wildfires are so just
Yeah.
yearly and annual that it's something that could become the
Hmm.
next big thing where you create this drip system. So I think that's the biggest thing I've heard. And you see folks just watering down their house with a hose.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I did read a story with the fire out towards Altadena, Pasadena area
Hmm.
that a gentleman was watering down his house, and unfortunately, I don't think he succumbed to the fire
Hmm.
doing so. So obviously, do it to the extent in which you can get away.
Hmm.
Wildfires spread faster than you
Yeah.
can imagine. So of course, do it safely.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But you think about what they're going through, and you know, God bless them.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing I've seen. I
Okay.
don't know. Have you seen anything, John?
I saw something on TikTok. I think it was like yesterday with a drip system like that. There's a company creating it, and yeah, I think it would be costly, but I think like you mentioned, if this is something a company organization creates to sell that's affordable for everybody, it could save. And like I said, I think even insurance companies thinking about this because I think we've all heard the rumors of what insurance companies have done before these fires and what a lot of people are going to have to struggle with. Like if they just create something like this that they know could protect the home, it saves a lot more money for an insurance company. So, hopefully this is not now is the time to sort of talk about it because it's happened so much in the last 10 years here in SoCal. And like I say, the Woolsey fire, the Palisades fires, even the Thomas fires, some of these homes are multi-million dollar homes, and that's a lot of money. Some people have these homes inherited and now they can't really do too much. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, the fires have been tough. Tough to see people losing their homes, going back to their homes to absolutely nothing. But the one person that I think is benefiting from these fires that I couldn't really wasn't on my bingo card that was gonna pop up in 2025, Spencer Pratt. This guy on TikTok is trending. His wife, Heidi, her song is trending on Apple Music, and you know, from what I've seen, he's just being real in his videos, which I really appreciate. He's not doing it for
Yeah.
clout. He's just being Spencer, his quirky, weird self. Um, but some of his videos have cracked me up. A lot of people supporting them, so kudos to him. But I thought it was funny. Like when I saw Spencer popping up, I was like, look, Vera, this is happening, and we were just laughing for a bit. But it's like it's unfortunate they lost their home. I feel horrible for them because, like I said, they have children. That's a lot of memories. But them coming back in the spotlight, it's crazy.
Yeah, and what a husband, to be promoting his wife's music.
Yeah.
And even on it was on Saturday, we are driving somewhere, and Jen, I think, was watching his live
Yeah.
video at that point in time. And I was listening in, of course. It was on over the radio. And I kind of and she began telling me about like how he's promoting his wife's music. And I was like, oh, does she have like any hits or anything that I'd be able to
Mhm.
recognize? And then she played one that I guess it was a viral TikTok and
Yeah.
sound. And I listened to it. I'm like, oh, dude, yeah, I totally know that. I had no idea that was,
Yeah.
Heidi's song.
Yeah.
So how cool, and he seems down to earth. Like he seems like
Mhm.
just a cool dude that,
Yeah.
this predicament's terrible. And, but yeah, what stepping up for his wife's music. And I guess she's
Yeah.
topping the charts now. So that's really
Yeah.
cool too.
Yeah. I think it'll help them out. It makes me think back. He did mention not to watch The Hills because he gets no royalties from it. But it makes me think,
Oh,
remembering The Hills, remembering all that drama, and it always seemed that he was the bad one. Seeing how he is now, I'm like, was he really the bad guy, or is that just the way the MTV painted him out?
probably. Exactly.
These reality TV shows, what they do to some people. So, um, but yeah, shout out to Spencer Pratt. Keep on doing those videos. You've done some funny videos I've enjoyed watching, and like I say, hopefully, doing that helps him. Just cope with this, help his family cope, and just rebuild their lives. Because, like I say, even though a lot of these people are millionaires, celebrities, it's still a devastating loss. You can't take that away.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's human. We all have
Hmm.
memories that we, carry with us near and dear. So,
Yeah.
thoughts are certainly out to everybody of
Hmm.
Palisades or in Pasadena area that are devastated by these fires. We're certainly thinking of you,
Hmm.
and stay safe,
Yeah.
and just I guess stay up to date. I know John's doing that right now.
Yeah.
I guess something ignited near him, and
Yeah.
that's number one. Is he's aware though that
Yeah.
John knows what's going on. So,
I'm
that's
keeping
number
an
one.
eye on it. Vera's keeping an eye,
Yeah.
texting me, letting me
Good.
know. So we discussed our plan if we have to go, but we're still pretty far away. But we like you mentioned, these winds they go one way, next minute they could go another way, and it could
Yep.
be you just got to be prepared. So we're prepared. But yeah, but
Good.
thoughts and prayers for all those people affected by all these fires this year, this season. Hopefully. After these wins are done, we could go back to rebuilding and hopefully it's an easy, quick process. That's my hope. I don't, from what I've heard, I don't know if it will be, but that's my hope. Hopefully we get back to everybody get, rebuild their lives that they've lost a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and I'm glad, you mentioned, just the rebuild process. And
Mhm.
that's number one, creating new memories
Mhm.
and everybody going back and recreating the home that they once had. So,
Yeah.
I hope that is a quick process too.
So next we'll go into our banter takes. So this is where Tim and I we share takes for each other that we're going to follow through with. And um, so Kendrick Lamar, who Leangelo, aka Jello Ball, just made the hottest track of the past year. I will say, Leangelo, Jello, this guy, he's coming out of nowhere and making a fire track. I think it was hilarious to see the Lions when they won against the Vikings week 18 celebrating, and then someone said, I can't quote it exactly, but just turn on that Leangelo Ball song. And when I heard that, I was like, out of all the songs in the world, you want to turn on Leangelo Ball.
Turn on
Like,
that Jello, baby.
like
Woo-hoo.
this guy, I saw a post in LeVar Ball right now, probably one of the happiest dads because, LaMelo. He's playing well. Lonzo seems like he's healthy. Knock on wood that he could stay healthy and become. I don't think he'll be the superstar we always thought, but just become a great player who we think he was. And like I said, Jello wanted to be in the NBA. Didn't really have a good career. Got cut a lot, but now making it in the rap scene. Um, yeah, I've only heard snippets of the song. Have you heard the song, Tim?
I think I've heard it in its entirety at this point.
Yeah.
It's just such a flashback to 2005, and I'm all here for it because my realm of just music in general is like '02 to 2011.
2011.
That gap right there, it's
Bangers.
money. It's
All the
money. Oh,
bangers, all
it's
the money.
banger
Yeah.
after banger. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. It just reminds me of like, I don't know, Nelly back in the day.
Hmm.
Just that
Ludacris.
whoa, it's just yeah, it's straight fire. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's such a great it's a great track. Great take, John. Honestly.
Yeah.
And I will exclude one that we had talked about. You totally thought of this one as well.
Hmm.
That I was going to mention for you, but you mentioned him, LeVar Ball. That dude's 3 for 3.
Hmm.
And remember back, I don't know, what was it, 6, 7 years ago? Everybody's talking that ish about LeVar. He's like
Oh
too
yeah.
involved, and dude needs to be up for like dad of the decade.
Hmm.
He set his kids up for success.
He did.
LaMelo's doing great. Lonzo's made a comeback into the
Yeah.
NBA, and LeAngelo just signed a $13 million music deal.
Yeah, I saw that. Def Jam, right?
Yeah, do with Def Jam.
Said Def Jam,
So
yeah.
hey, get paid, and
Yeah.
just because you didn't make it in ball,
Yeah.
make it in the rap game.
Yeah.
Yeah, unreal.
Yeah. And I think that's what LeVar always tried to do. It's not I think his goal and dream was all three of his kids playing the NBA, being famous, making their money that way, but Jello took a different route and he's making just as much money, and if this career takes off, that $13 million, his next contract, after he finishes however many records he said he was going to do, could quadruple, if he throws out these bangers the way he has been. So it's a great take, Kendrick Lamar is still up there, but right now it is Kendrick Lamar who? It's about Jello. That's the name out there.
Yeah, it's solid take. Yeah,
Yeah,
who's
and,
Kendrick?
and Kendrick, if you hear this, don't hate your music, enjoy it, but Jello's just on a different
Yeah,
level right now.
he is. Yeah, he's taking it up a notch. And yeah, Kendrick, your music's so far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
So since your take.
Oh, all right. Yeah, here's my hot take. Cooper Flag will take Duke to a national championship. I completely agree with this. Outstanding performance this past weekend. I believe he put
Hmm.
up 43.
Yep.
Um, the kid's an absolute beast.
Hmm.
I know that Notre Dame, who he did it against, is subpar, I
Yeah.
suppose. It's still D1 talent though,
Yeah.
and I believe he is the real deal. I
Hmm.
think his size, his agility, and just his game altogether. Um, Duke was lucky to get him. I know
Yeah.
Duke is just historic. I love seeing. I like Duke. I love North Carolina. Grew up with them. Just such famous teams, and I'm happy a guy like Cooper Flag is going there
Hmm.
and just lighting it up. I just the atmosphere is great, and the dude is doing it at both ends of the floor.
Hmm.
There's clips of him, stealing it and then just running the floor and just dunking over somebody and
Yeah.
posterizing. He's just so much fun to watch.
Yes.
He's an extraordinary talent, and I think based on he's the number one player in college
Hmm.
basketball right now, in my opinion. I think it's easy unless there's some crazy upset in the March Madness. Easy money that he will take Duke all the way.
Yeah.
What do they rank 3-4 right now? I
Yeah, I
believe.
think so.
Okay. Yeah, I think that just his talent alone. I mean,
Hmm.
if he, I think he's averaging probably 16 a game at the moment.
Hmm.
But if this dude puts up 30 plus in March Madness continuously,
Yeah.
oh, come on. Yeah. Dude's, yeah. And then he'll be the number one pick.
Yeah.
And he'll be such an easy number one pick, following up, last year's Wemby. Um,
Hmm. Or
yeah,
two years
absolutely.
ago.
National championship to Duke, Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
Want to know, John, is Cooper Flag getting you to watch a lot more college football?
No, I've always watched it before Cooper Flag.
Okay.
I enjoyed
Yep.
March Madness, so I don't watch it at the beginning just because some of the games, they're those like Atlantis tournament where it's like the one of the best teams versus, three other subpar teams.
Mhm.
But now we're getting close to March, we're getting close, to the, conference championships. It's getting to be a lot better basketball. And like I said, I enjoy watching March Madness. Unfortunately in California, you can't sports bet like straight up bets because if not, I
Right.
would be betting a lot for March Madness because
Change
I
it.
enjoy doing it. Yes, if you guys vote for sports betting, I know there's a lot of cons, but there's also a lot of
Mm.
pros. I think it will bring a lot of jobs, a lot of new casinos, sports betting book places. So I think it'll help the economy. But yeah, I've always enjoyed watching it, but watching Cooper Flag, seeing what he's done, I think he's going to be one of the top picks. And it sort of goes to like another topic for another day, but like, I've always thought LeBron, Curry, they're fading out, so who are the next big names? We have Wemby. I think Cooper Flag's going to be one of them. Shea
Shay.
Shay's on the little older side, not too young, but he's still going to be around for a while. I think Cade Cunningham, that
Oh, yeah.
guy's balling it up. So starting to look for those
Bronny
next.
James.
Yeah, Bronny James maybe. We'll see.
Just kidding.
I think the other James brother will be a lot better than Bronny, but
What do you know about Quentin Post, Warriors forward? Just put
not
up 30
much
in the G League.
in the G League.
Sorry, my bad.
That says a
I'll
lot
clip
to
it.
G League. Put that
It's
over first G
Iowa.
League.
Come on.
Yeah, but like I enjoy it, so I'm excited to see Cooper Flag because I think where he started getting a lot of attention when he was scrimmaging Team USA and he was putting up numbers and playing well
Yep.
against NBA players.
That's a perfect example, John. Yeah. Pod's got a lot, Pods, aka Podziemski,
Mhm.
guard for the Warriors, who's kind of had a sophomore slump for sure this year. But
Mhm.
anyways, teamed up with, Cooper Flag, and what a great way to just showcase his
Yeah.
skill. That's the great example right there. And all of this talk is getting me worked up and excited for March Madness.
Mhm.
I'll say it now, John. I'm sure you'll agree with me. We're just gonna do one independent episode for just bracketology.
Mhm.
100%. We just
Yeah.
fill out We'll fill it out like live,
We'll
kind
fill
of.
out a live bracket. Yeah, I do it every
Yeah,
year. I do it
we'll
at
go game by
work.
game.
I do like three
Do
different
it on here.
brackets. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll fill out one. I do like, yeah, probably about three here. That's the way to do it. We'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I
we'll
like
do
that.
that. But
I'm
yeah.
pumped.
So Tom Brady will say deuces to Fox and coach the Raiders next year. Um,
Wow.
you know, it's gonna be the next Jerry Jones with Tom Brady, you know. But instead of GM, it's gonna be head coach, part owner of the Raiders,
Love it.
So I think Tom Brady has done well in commentating, being a reporter. I think he's a lot better in the game. Um, yeah, I'd be very interested because I think it's one of our discussions later about coaching, who's available. And from what Tom Brady shows in broadcasting, he could be a really good coach. He could do a lot and doing it in Las Vegas in that type of market, his net worth is just going to increase. And with all this drama with Fox Sports, it's all a sister channel. They're all, related. Does he want to be associated with that type of organization? I don't think so. I don't think until Barstool buys off Fox and becomes the new big, competitor to ESPN.
That's huge.
I think he's going to try to find a different route, and I think Fox, or not Fox, but coaching the Raiders, giving that a shot. Al or Davis is going to be paying him whatever
They're
he
all the
wants.
same,
They're all Davis. Those bowl
minus the bowl
haircut
cut.
Davis, the bowl cut Davises. You know, they'll pay him what he wants, and I think also depending on who they draft as a QB. Tom Brady, one of the best QBs around. Hate to say it, even though I think a lot of us hated the Patriots while he was on the Patriots. You got to give him his props. You got to give him his kudos because he did a lot. He won so many Super Bowls. Without Tom Brady, the Patriots wouldn't be the Patriot. They wouldn't have the history that they have right now. So, um, I think you could say deuces. I don't remember how long his contract is with Fox, but I think he'll take a buyout, and I think Davis will also buy it out his contract if he needs to.
I think the contract's like a solid 10 years. I
Hey.
think it's an extraordinary deal, but Tom Brady, he's that guy that says like, let me do it myself.
Hmm.
Straight up. He had, I mean, what is it? 7 Super Bowls, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, you can't coach that. I heard sidetrack little story on Tom Brady real quick. I believe tight end Clay Harbor, I believe was his name of tight end for Patriots way back when. I believe that's what I think that was his name.
Hmm.
Anyways, I guess he was pulled aside. He proved against Tom that he knew the playbook better than him
Hmm.
and won a contest. I believe it was like beat him 5-2 in it. Um, Next day, I guess Brady stormed out of the room. Came back next day. He said, "Clay, where you at?" Comes in and challenges Clay again,
Hmm.
and I guess beat him 5-0 straight up
Yeah.
on the playbook calls. And then he said, talk his shit, and then left the room again over just the fucking playbook. He has nothing
Yeah.
to prove. He's Tom Brady,
Hmm.
and that just shows the competitor he is.
Hmm.
I could totally see him being a head coach, more than a
Hmm.
GM, more than a part owner. I can
Yeah.
see this dude being a head coach and a good one.
Hmm.
To be honest with you, coach through experience, and he has just those intangibles, just stuff you can't teach. So he brings that ferocity. He's going to set a precedent, kind of create Patriots West Coast.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I
Good
think it's
take.
also it, what he might want to do is show he could win more Super Bowls as a coach and show that, hey, Kraft, it wasn't Belichick that brought you these Super Bowls, it was me. You know,
Hey,
just throw it
yeah,
back in his face because even though he says he's friendly, Tom Brady, he gets angry, he will hold a grudge against you. And him winning Super Bowls with the Raiders, winning as a coach, it'll show that nothing against Bill Belichick. I think he did great. It was Tom Brady that won the Super Bowls. I don't
yep,
know if, you know, Brady could have done it with any quarterback or any coach. He did it with the Bucks, you know.
yeah,
So,
I completely agree.
yeah.
Belichick can do it when he left. Well, Tom Brady did it when he left.
Yeah. So,
It's all him.
yeah. So
He's
it'll be
badass.
good if it happens.
Yep. Which brings us to my next hot take. Chiefs are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. If Chiefs win, Travis Kelce proposes to Taylor Swift in the final. If they lose, Taylor Swift will dump Travis Kelce's ass and for being a loser. And when she has been winning, for being a loser when she has been winning the last few years from her concert. I think, yeah, and the reason why I say this is because I think it's reality, right? They're just in the spotlight. Like who? Kelsey. Like if you
Yeah.
lose, you lose out on her. I
Yeah.
think a lot's on the line this year. Kelsey's getting to the end of his career. How many more times is he going to be in the Super Bowl?
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm really curious to see how much this backseat role for the entire
Yeah.
season has benefited him come
Hmm.
playoff time now. So let's see how that works out. And I feel like that little storyline of Travis Kelsey, Taylor Swift
Hmm.
has been a little quiet, more tame this year. I
Hmm.
thought that, with the offseason, everybody saw like, oh,
Yeah.
they're going to be in Buffalo
Yeah.
when she's performing in Toronto, so she can make the
Yeah.
short trip over. Not a whole lot was said, right? It's been kind of
Hmm.
tame, but the tameness kind of has us thinking about something's about to like go crazy.
Yeah.
So if they make it to the Super Bowl, just imagine like he does it after a loss and Taylor Swift says no and it's filmed. That might be the
That
biggest defeat in history
it might be more
of
more than losing
anything.
a Super Bowl, and that would be
Oh,
two Super Bowl losses, I think, because I think
yeah,
they lost once to the Patriots, and they'll lose again to whoever they play. If they make
yeah.
it. So
This could top the 28-3, you
it
know,
could.
L,
Yeah.
that the Falcons took in
Yeah.
the Super Bowl. That would be colossal.
It would be.
if you ask me. So, but hey, what a romantic spotlight that would be if they win and he
Hmm.
does this proposal and it's successful. It could be, like just truly iconic.
Iconic, yeah.
And just all the Swifties regathering and
Hmm.
maybe I think if they win the Super Bowl, he proposes, she says yes. You got to retire,
Hmm. I think
right?
so.
For what would that be? Three, four Super Bowls total?
Four, yeah, four Super Bowl
Two against
totals.
my freaking Niners, one against the Eagles. Then you have this year. Yeah, I think you retire.
Hmm.
At Kelsey's age, he's let off the gas. The guy's a
Yeah,
little tub scout,
yeah.
little
Retire,
chub scout.
be that bodyguard for Taylor Swift. He's big enough. Tight end.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
it. And
go.
just probably keep the beard. I think
Yeah.
the stash only is a little, nah, yeah.
Little sus.
Yeah.
It's a little
But
sus.
I think that's the way to go out. It's
Hmm.
that's it. Right off into the
Yeah.
sunset, getting his convertible old school roadster and
Yeah.
see you later. See you at the diner because that's about all you
Yeah.
can do in Kansas City, right? So shout out
Yeah.
Kansas City. Good BBQ, I'm sure. But yeah, no, what do you think, John? How do
Yeah,
you think that ends?
I think it ends that way. It'll be storybook, either positive or negative. Like you mentioned, there hasn't been a lot of talks about them, and beginning of the season there was a lot of chatter. It died down. I don't know if that's, whose party, whose side, if it's the NFL trying to keep it under wraps, but hey, we're here to break some news, and this is what we're doing right now. We're breaking the news because we're going to start this conversation, and we're going to have it build up.
Yeah, TMZ. You're looking for some people, We'll,
Yeah.
we'll jump in, every once in a while. And I will say, I think me and John are both kind of Swifties,
Mhm.
so we're in it for the best interest of
Yeah.
Taylor.
Yeah.
So,
Want her to
you
be
know,
happy, continue doing these awesome
marry a
concerts.
winner.
Yeah. Not a
Threes
loser.
might not be enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah. But yeah,
got to
that's
at
a good
least
take.
complete the four digits here.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
Well, I
those are
guess
our
touche. Sorry, touche.
yeah.
The wedding ring would be,
Yeah.
one. So yeah,
Yeah,
fair.
that'll complete the Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet, the wedding ring,
Oh
and four Super
yeah.
Bowls.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, you got to complete the gauntlet. It's got to be
Yeah.
five.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Good call. Yep.
Yeah.
Good
But yeah,
take.
that's our takes for today. Or do you have another one, Tim?
Um, I guess I kind of gave it away. With earlier where, unless you want to go back to LeVar real quick, I just think that I guess it's kind of there's not a whole lot of comparison. I mean, this dude had he talked his game, 3 for 3 with his kiddos. And what a big reversal. He did a lot of talk when he had to, and he was kind of
Hmm.
promoting his brand.
Hmm.
They were up and comers into the league, and it paid out. It panned
I did.
out. I I think
There.
everybody was proved wrong. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say so. I think the one thing that didn't pan out was their shoe brand. From what I heard,
Mm.
those things you break through him, but just the fame, the success, it happened in a different. I think it was a different route than what he envisioned, but he still got there. And I think, like I said, yeah, we're all eating our words because I don't think we thought all three kids were going to be successful. I think we always just thought Melo was going to be the biggest success. I think we thought Lonzo was going to be a bust. Like I say, hopefully he makes a comeback, could be a great role player, great basketball player, and Jello, great rapper, great music career. And I think yeah, LeVar did that. It reminds me because I remember during that times through social media, it was the Balls versus the Newmans, and look at where the Newmans are right now with Julian Newman,
Oh
who was
my.
supposed to be what's the prodigy, and this kid. Like, I'm not gonna take anything away because I'm not even that great at basketball. He would probably smoke me, but that kid's like just a social media star now. Still saying he's in college at what 22, probably 23.
He
Like,
is. I think he plays for a college in Orange County.
okay,
It's not D1. And I think he's just putting up a brick show. He's
yeah,
laying
that's what I've
bricks.
heard.
Yeah. I saw a clip of him. He went up against I believe it was College of the Canyons, something
What was
out in Santa
that?
Clarita. And it's like, man, if you're playing College of Canyons. But yeah, no, I don't even think he broke double digits. He's not
Mhm.
starting. Um, but with how cocky they were, I'm sorry, I kind of love to see it. It
You,
was,
you you enjoy seeing that downfall.
yeah.
You could say they got their success in a different way because we're still talking about them, still paying attention to them, but I think it's in a different manner where I think a lot of people are making fun of them, which I feel a little bit bad, but at the same time, it's like you brought that onto yourself saying this kid was going to be the next NBA superstar and can't even break
Yep.
into the G League where Bronny is, Bronny's there.
Hell yeah. I will say, because I love I like the Hornets. I don't know, just colors. I
Hmm.
do own a LaMelo Ball Hornets
Okay,
jersey,
nice.
and a big thing that led into me like just kind of pulling the trigger and buying one was I saw this remix of him. I believe so. It's Julian Newman. I believe the sister's name is it Julian or Jaden?
Jaden, I think.
Jaden. Okay, so Jaden's sister. The clip of him saying, "I don't run my Instagram,"
Oh, yeah.
then led into just a highlight show of him in high school and then
Yeah.
going into the pros. One of my favorite mixtapes of all
Yeah.
time. That just that track in general, just the
Hmm.
denial. Oh, it's not much is
It's,
better.
yeah.
And then and then him having a later interview saying, "I do run it."
Yeah.
It's so iconic.
Yeah.
What a clip. So
Yeah.
yeah, big fan of the Ball brothers
Yeah.
and LeVar.
Hmm.
Way to stand up for your kiddos
Hmm.
and support them, just
Through all
through it
this.
all.
Hmm.
God, what a badass. Just
Yeah.
great father. Honestly,
Yeah. No, for sure.
he's involved in a good way. It panned
Yeah.
out really well.
Yeah, no, it did. So yeah, I think we're all eating our words. They're successful. We could talk all the smack we did back then, but got to give props where props are due, and hey, he
Yep.
deserves them. So kudos to him. But yeah, those are our hot takes, our banter takes for this week. Next we'll go into our just NFL talk, playoff talk. We'll go through these next week games and sort of who we thought was going to win this past week. First game, Chiefs versus Texans. Texans will beat the San Diego. I'm always still saying it. Gonna say
It's
San
fine.
Diego Chargers, Los Angeles
It's fine.
Chargers. They beat the
Love the fan
Chargers.
base.
I think we both had the Chargers winning against the Texans. We felt the Texans were just slumping, and they came up and showed out. So kudos to them. CJ Stroud played a lot better. That defense, they showed up. So, and then I think the Chargers. I think they were a surprise to get in. They were also a dark horse for us to, upset. But I think they need a lot of help, especially at wide receivers, because it was McConkey that did everything. I think he got close to breaking the rookie receiving record in a playoff game. So that showed that that's the only weapon Justin Herbert has. They need more support. That defense needs a little bit of help and just a wide receiver crew. So, but Chiefs Texans should be a good game.
Definitely. Yeah, no, and it's a great point with the receivers with the Chargers. They in our little side group chat with Fidel, who's been on the
Hmm.
pod, big Chargers fan, kind of talked about, the direction of maybe where that team will go in the
Hmm.
offseason. Whether it's T. Higgins, obviously T. Higgins is involved with half the league at this point.
Yeah.
You mentioned DK or Garrett Wilson. I think with any of the three,
Hmm.
you're going to benefit.
Yeah.
So it would be good to see them obtain one, or do whatever they want, I guess. I don't know. It's a team on the up and up. So I
Yeah.
think that they surpassed what their expectation was. And but honestly, no surprise.
Yeah.
Harbaugh is phenomenal.
Hmm.
And hell of a season. Hell of a season for Lad McConkey.
Hmm.
Love to see it. There's so much to build off of there. And what a difference I guess a new pick in staff will make compared to
Hmm.
like Quentin Johnson, who just
Yeah.
Butterfingers galore. Crazy. But as far as this upcoming matchup, Chiefs Texans, I hate to say it, the league just wants to see the Chiefs move on.
Hmm.
Um, Chiefs have had time to rest, and I don't think this game is even that close. If it is close, it's going to be close, and then they're just going to kick a game-winning field goal with, Butker.
If that happens again, I'm just gonna be pissed
Oh
because
my
I'm like
God.
NFL's just scripting this, make it
Yeah,
in drama because you know who's gonna be there. T Swift is gonna be there, so it's making it. Yeah, I think it isn't gonna be close. I wish I could say the Texans are gonna upset, but just on paper, it doesn't look good for them. I think Texans to win, they need to have a perfect game. I don't think they can make a mistake. The running game with Joe Mixon needs to be top notch. CJ Stroud has to be throwing those dimes. Um, the receivers for the Texans, like I say, I think if they had Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, it would be a whole different story. But without just with Nico Collins, there isn't much more to that team, with big names and big support. And the defense, like I said, they showed up against the Chargers. But it's the Chargers. You're going against Patrick Mahomes now, who has proven it, who has the confidence. Travis Kelce, D Hop, even though he hasn't done much in the playoffs, like it's still a big name. So it's going to be a tough one. I have the Chiefs winning 28-14. They should be taking that pretty easily.
yeah. I have a similar score of 28-17. I just think that it's going to be enough of a gap where they're going to win it pretty
Mhm.
handily. Maybe it's a late score that, kind of puts the Texans a little bit closer, but it's not going
Yeah.
to be that meaningful. But if the the Texans secondary shows up the way they did against
Mhm.
the Chargers, it's going to be a hell of a game.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it could be a lot closer. Mahomes, I don't know, maybe he's taken a step back because he has some new receivers and
Hmm.
has to kind of adjust.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious to see. It's
Yeah.
going to be a fun game, one I'll certainly be watching. But personally, I hope Texans step up and CJ Stroud.
Yeah. I want to see it.
I want to see it. I think a lot of people want to see it, minus Chiefs
Yeah.
fans. So yeah, we'll definitely clip and see how Chiefs fans react,
Yeah.
but might not be a happy one. But yeah, no. And then moving along, John. We definitely got it right with the Commanders this past
Hmm.
week, and that was pretty awesome to see because I think that Daniels is so much fun to
Hmm.
watch,
He is.
and a hell of a freaking player. But this week they have a real test against the Lions.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Um, I think this is gonna be a very good game. I think it's gonna be the highest scoring game of the week.
Okay,
Um, like I say, Lions ha are coming from a bye week. They had a great game, week 18 against the Vikings. That, when we talk about the Vikings, I said the Vikings were going to have a downfall because of that loss to the Lions. But the Commanders, they're also a great team. They have great players. But I think the Lions take this pretty. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a challenge, but they should still win by at least two scores. Um, I'm curious to see the Commanders kicker because how they won it, that doink, one of the luckiest doinks ever to win a game. And I think we've talked about it, for these kickers, it's a lot of confidence and just good luck, and that is going to mess with his mind because if it was just an inch to the right, it would have missed and his confidence would have just shot down. So if he's thinking about that a lot, it's going to mess with his mind and it could affect him in the game. So I'm curious to see how he comes up to this next game against the Lions because this Lions crowd, they're excited because they know they could win the Super Bowl this year. They have the team. So,
for sure. Yeah, no, that's it's great. Kate. I'm not that psycho. I was doing the like fixing the hair thing. I just don't have any hair, and I'm wearing a hat at the same time. So not a whole lot to fix up there. But Zane Gonzalez, he's been pretty solid throughout the year,
mhm,
right? I mean, certainly a nervous tick, and I guess whatever gets you to that point.
mhm,
So yeah, in I guess the most beneficial factor of it all is that he made it. But again, a lot of added pressure because you're just on to the next game,
mhm.
and if it's a really close one, and you're kind of going through that same
Yeah.
procedure, there's going to be a lot of eyes on you. Maybe it's a little bit of a different factor. And
Hmm.
Bates, the kicker for the Lions, he's money. That dude's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you. I could see this game just being very high scoring. I think both defenses have gone through quite a
Hmm.
bit. Commanders have kind of pulled it together, I guess, throughout the season, but still, are
Hmm.
inevitable to let up some points. And I agree with you. And I just think Daniels at this point in his career, I know it's only his rookie career,
Hmm.
he's a lot to contain. That dude
Yeah.
can run, dude can pass really
Hmm.
well. He has a lot of offensive threats, but so does Jared Goff and the
Yeah.
Lions. I guess, one factor I'm kind of thinking about is fourth downs for Dan Campbell. What do you think the over-under is, John, for I don't have it offhand, but if you had to guess, like how fourth and long do you think Dan Campbell will go this game?
Um, it's gonna depend on field position and the score, but I think if it's a 4th and 5, he'll go for it. I think if
Yeah,
it's on the opposite side, not giving up too much field if they don't convert it. But hey, that's Dan Campbell. That's what's helped them win these games, that confidence and that team believing in him. And I, I see him having a few. But I think he's gonna play it a little bit smarter because he knows it's the playoffs. You can't make a mistake because there's no tomorrow if you lose. So it'll be interesting.
I think one thing I kind of appreciate about him is that he stays true to himself,
Hmm.
and everybody buys into it. I think that team is so close
Hmm.
knit, and it's such a fun team to watch. And a big thing too is that last year, kind of the reason why I kind of wanted to bring that up was last year didn't really pay off against the Niners,
Hmm.
and this year he's continuing to keep the same motto.
Hmm.
So I think
Yeah.
that's really cool to see, and that he is just committed to it. So
Hmm.
I just think that's the sign of a true leader. I think that's a guy that preaches confidence and
Hmm.
belief.
Yeah.
And I think it goes a long way. And ultimately, I think Lions win this one 35-31.
35-31. I have him 34-21. Like I say, it'll
Okay.
be a high scoring game, but I think fourth quarter they'll sort of take it away. So, but yeah, good game, I think. A fun game to watch. And then we'll go to one of the next games. It's my
Ooh.
Ravens against the Buffalo Bills, and this is for me going to be the best and toughest game of the week. So, what are your thoughts, Tim, on this game?
I couldn't agree more. I think this matchup is so good. This might be the Super Bowl. this
Yeah.
might be a Super Bowl. It is that good. You have two MVPs at quarterback going up against it.
Hmm.
If you could share an MVP, which they have done in the past,
Hmm.
I think that sharing an MVP with Lamar and Josh Allen would make sense.
Hmm.
Um, this matchup is phenomenal.
Hmm.
I'm very curious to see how it goes. Obviously, Henry was an absolute beast this past week. Bills kind of that game started off a little hot for the Broncos and
Hmm.
then tempered down throughout the game, obviously, and
Yeah.
turned into a blowout. But yeah, I think that if Lamar and the Ravens get off to a really hot start and maybe the
Hmm.
Bills are a little bit slow off the jump, they kind of control the clock with the run
Hmm.
game. It's going to be a Ravens matchup,
Yeah.
and a victory for them. Again, I'm not just saying this because you're my co-host, John. Hope you know that.
Oh
But
yeah. We're always honest. We're always honest.
yeah. No, but and I'll be happy for you too. But
Yeah.
I think that I really do kind of believe this is the Ravens' year.
Mm.
I'm a big fan of Lamar. I think the dude just I think he's got it. I
Hmm.
think that he's really come into his own this past year. And I think that with just Derrick Henry at
Hmm.
his in his repertoire in the backfield with him has made such a good
Hmm.
confidence boost to just him in general. So
Yeah.
I think that this game is going to be Ravens, a Ravens victory. Score is kind of tough for me to call out, but I'll just call it a Ravens victory.
Hmm.
But this is your team, John.
Yeah.
This is your matchup. I really want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be one of the toughest matchups, I think, for my Ravens. Our run game has to perform. But I also think the Bills know that they have to stop Derrick Henry, they have to stop Lamar Jackson, and they have to let Lamar throw. So, and like I said, I have a lot more confidence in Lamar throwing this year compared to previous years. So I've seen it. I hope Zay Flowers comes back because I think that just gives another weapon to give him to throw. But what we saw this past week against the Steelers, who always a tough matchup for us. We were able to beat them. You know, Lamar was able to find those receivers, but what they did was they ran the ball well, and that's a tough defense to run against. So I think we have the ability to run against the Bills. Our defense did show up. You know, we gave up a few easy ones to the Steelers, which I feel like we shouldn't have. But who knows if they were just taking it easy, if they were already on cruise control on the second half, just based on how the game was going. Um, but yeah, I think two MVP caliber QBs. I think we have to just also stop the run. Um, we have to stop Josh Allen. We have to stop James Cook because if they don't have a run game, their receivers aren't proven either. But like I say, it's Josh Allen does have an arm, so it's gonna be a back and forth. It's gonna be a tough game. We're in Buffalo, but we're not afraid of the cold like all these other teams. We're ready for it. So I have us winning 24-17, so it's going to be a close game, but I have us winning it. I think if we could win this game, our confidence is going to skyrocket. And with us most likely having to play the Chiefs, we faced them week one. We didn't have an identity in week one. We're a totally different team than week one, and I don't think the Chiefs are ready. So, well, I
So
hope we can come out winning this one. But yeah, it's going to be, I think, the best game of the week, going to be the toughest game and the most interesting one to watch.
yeah, I think if this turns into a rematch of last year, Ravens Chiefs, that then turns into the Super Bowl for me.
Yeah.
And after that, then we'll probably have another Super Bowl. But
Yeah.
but I don't know. The AFC is just so stacked, and I you bring up some great points there, John. I think that yeah, what it's going to come down to is, of course, I think Lamar just exudes more confidence this year
Hmm.
with
He
his
does.
throwing, and I just yeah, I think that they've taken the next step,
Hmm.
and I think that is going to show this week. But Josh Allen's going to continuously just
Hmm.
be creeping down everybody's neck
Yeah.
for years to come. So I think that's a great thing to look at. And
Hmm.
one follow-up question for you, John,
Hmm.
as far as because Ray Lewis, he's always so iconic. It's getting hot in
Yeah.
her. His entrance. He did it again, right?
Hmm.
He brought it back
Yeah.
and it got the crowd going. Um, your thoughts on his entrance again, he's grabbing grass, going crazy.
It,
God, I love it.
it's amazing. It gets the crowd pumped. It gets us going. It's iconic. I think you can see a lot of people having, that victory celebration when they're celebrating something just because of how when he did it, it's amazing. I enjoy doing it. I feel like it was in a movie or his like little speech. Think Like a Man too. Remember when they're in jail, the dad's calling his son and he does a little Ray entrance. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
like
I love it.
Ray
Yeah.
Lewis is an iconic player and that dance, everybody mimics it. So it brings energy. like I say, we might not be able to see another dance like that unless we make the Super Bowl. Because like I said, we're going to the Bills. Chiefs win. We play in Chiefs Kingdom. Unless the Texans pull off an upset, then the AFC Championship will be in Baltimore. So, got to order my purple camo pants to start getting prepped for these next games to wear with my jersey, just like all these other Ravens fans. So, it'll be a good game.
For sure. And it was Gary Owen, comedian,
Yeah,
Bennett in Think Like a Man.
yeah,
Such a good such a
yeah.
good scene.
It's
Yeah, I
hilarious.
love it. I love it. One of the greatest entrances, and I think maybe in a follow-up episode, that was one topic I kind of want to go over was just greatest entrances of
Hmm.
just anything.
Yeah.
Because Ray Lewis has to be up there.
Hmm.
That dude's entrance is just
Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a fan of the Ravens, but dude would get me just ready to run through a freaking brick wall.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's what you're
unreal.
ready to go fight. So it's like that's
Yeah.
why they have him there. So it'll be cool. I want to see the Ravens make it to a Super Bowl. It'd be awesome. It'd be the third one that I've seen in my lifetime with them. And it could be the first one with Keanu, so showing him winning
Hey.
clubs. So
Yeah. Hey, out of curiosity,
mhm.
Keanu,
Uh,
any jerseys
yeah,
so far?
Lamar
Oh,
Jackson.
oh, I love it. I
Lamar
love
Jackson.
it.
Thanks to
Yeah, very
Fidel.
nice.
Fidel bought that one for I think it was
Oh,
his
great.
birthday last year.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if they
So yeah.
win this year, what do you think you do? Derrick Henry? Something? Sure.
Maybe Derrick Henry. I'll see if they have a Ed Reed one, just because I'm an Ed
Oh,
Reed
yeah.
fan.
Love
I
it.
have Ed Reed jersey. He could have one. We'll be matching. But yeah, it could be Derrick Henry. Uh, I always like Justin Tucker, but I'm on a hold with Justin Tucker, so I need to see how he does the rest of this year as a
Yep.
kicker.
I hear you.
But yeah, Derrick Henry. Terrell Suggs. There's a lot of classic jerseys you could get.
And yeah, I'm a big fan of the retro stuff. Patrick Willis will
Yeah.
forever be my guy. So yeah, no, Ed Reed, I think that's a great purchase, John.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, happy to hear
Yeah.
Lamar's. That's a great jersey.
Yeah.
And then moving on here, back to the NFC, John.
Hmm.
And we got obviously. I want to give you a shout out real quick before
Yeah.
leading into this one. You chose Rams over Vikings.
Hmm.
That was a pretty profound victory for the
Yeah.
Rams this evening. We're filming this on Monday, January 13th. Rams game just happened.
Hmm.
That was relocated to Arizona up against the Vikings, and you predicted it perfectly. You
Hmm.
called them, and this evening, kind of early on in the game, it was still pretty close. You called them the Vikings pretenders.
Hmm.
Shout out Richie. I'm sure you love to hear that.
I'm telling
Richie,
you,
our
Richard's gonna hate
friend,
us.
is yeah. I did make the joke that Richie was choking on a Vikings horn halfway through the game. People a little harsh. I don't know. But friendly banter, as we are banter on the
Yes,
box.
Banter on the box.
Um, so we lay it out there.
Hmm.
And but yeah, just want to give you a quick shout out because that's a
Hmm.
great prediction.
Yeah.
And props to you. But yeah, leading into this one, Rams now have the Eagles.
Hmm.
Eagles obviously a little bit stiffer matchup
Yeah.
than probably the Vikings were. Vikings maybe low morale based off of their
Yeah.
last Detroit victory. Dan Campbell kind of jinxed them. See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Psych. See you never.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So leading into this matchup, I think the Rams have shown a lot.
Hmm.
9 sacks on the day
Yeah.
for almost I think it totaled 82 yards. Like those are
Hmm.
big sacks. Jalen Hurts didn't look super dominant. He looked good, accurate, I
Yeah.
suppose. First game back. Saquon looked okay.
Yeah.
But I think this game's going to be a lot closer. So I definitely want to hear
Yeah.
what you think.
Yeah. This game gonna be close. I didn't like what I saw from Jalen Hurts last week. I think in the first half he only threw like eight throws or something, 8 passes. And I was just like, for me, like I say, in a playoff game, it doesn't show confidence to your quarterback. And like I say, that speaks a lot to me. And yes, he had some good throws for touchdowns. He had accurate, but he's not always that accurate. And like I say, they don't have a lot of trust. And I think what the Rams showed today, their defense, they're behind, their coach, they're behind this team. They're behind Matthew Stafford. They know he needs to have a great year to continue playing, or else he might decide to retire. So it's going to be a great game. I think the Rams, they need to include Cooper Cup a little bit more. I think I didn't finish watching the game just because of the kiddo, but when I was watching, I think he only had one catch, barely for any yards. So I think they need to find a way to bring him back, especially if Higbee is hurt for a long time. Um, but it'll be a good game. I have the Rams upsetting. I think they're on a hot streak. I don't think the Eagles have it all in there. They're coaching. They're going to get outcoached by McVay. And I have Rams winning it 24-13.
I like that prediction. I'm going to go Rams 31-17. Um, yeah, not overly excited about the Eagles offense in
Yeah.
general. AJ Brown one catch, 10 yards. Wasn't
Hmm.
super involved, kind of relied a lot on the run game. Jalen Hurts had two passing touchdowns, but only threw for a buck 30.
Hmm.
First game back from concussion. I get it.
Yeah.
Maybe that concussion protocol extended a little bit because they could have done that.
Hmm.
Didn't really matter where they were. So um, I think this Rams team is just kind of just a dark horse.
Hmm.
They're just a team you don't want to face. I think it kind of, I know we kind of talked about it last week. They're a scary team.
Yeah.
We talked about it over Christmas time. This is
Hmm.
a scary team, but maybe a beatable team, depending on where it
Hmm.
is. But I agree. Cooper Kupp needs to get a little bit more involved. One catch, one target
Hmm.
for 29 yards. That's atypical for Cooper Kupp,
Yeah.
this dude. You expect, I don't know, 15 catches for
Yeah.
105 yards, something like that.
Yeah. Something.
A few years back, he was just always open,
Hmm.
always. And, they need to kind of get back to that. Definitely made his reappearance.
Hmm.
Had a great game, 5 catches off 5 targets, led the team in receiving yards. Puka's still doing his thing. Love to see that. Kyron Williams not finding the end zone, but still rushing the ball really well.
Hmm.
But just, I think all in all, the defense doing their thing.
Hmm.
I mean, that defense is outperforming. Obviously,
Hmm.
Aaron Donald is not a factor anymore, but 9 total sacks.
Yeah.
Man,
Hmm.
it's crazy out of this team. And the Vikings, 14-3. It's not easy.
No.
Sacked him for 82 yards. Vikings couldn't even really get the run game going. Cam Akers
Hmm.
had a long run, which kind of boosted their average, but um, besides that, not a whole lot was ever going.
No.
And I kind of a follow-up question here for you, John. I guess
Hmm.
involving I too I'm kind of just leading Rams bandwagon, I guess,
Hmm.
for this next matchup because
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of an Eagles hater. Not a big fan of them. They talk a lot of shit to my Niners and our Niners fans that travel out there,
Yeah.
and they keep talking about the game they had where we had Christian McCaffrey being quarterback. So f off, f you guys.
I remember that.
Sorry, shut up, Philly. But yeah, I have Rams upsetting too. Score 28-13.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it'll be kind of lopsided. But I guess follow-up question that I had for you here is about Sam Darnold. With this most recent performance, did he play himself out of a big contract moving forward?
I don't think he played himself out of a big contract. It's just not going to be as big as he wanted
Okay.
before this game. I think he's still going to get paid because he showed a lot. You know, this Vikings team, you could say he took them somewhere that nobody thought they were going to be at. I don't even think JJ McCarthy they would have planned to be as good as they were. And like I
Yep.
said, you have to credit Sam Darnold a lot for this because it's a quarterback that takes the team this far. So he's still gonna get a contract. I kept on hearing that the Vikings should just sign Sam Darnold, trade JJ McCarthy. I think after today, they can't do that. If they do it, it's a big mistake because Sam Darnold today looked like the old Sam Darnold when he was on the Jets where he was struggling. Still had a decent game, got some touchdowns, got some yards, but holding the ball for too long, not getting rid of it. That's why, they had the 9 sacks. I I don't think he's played himself out of a contract. I just don't think it's going to be as big of a contract as he probably would have hoped it would have been. And it won't be as long either, because like I say, there's a lot of question marks still, so I think he'll get 1 to 2 years again, but with more money.
Yeah, I think that's super valid. And I think in his best interest, he stays with the Vikings.
Hmm.
I think Kevin O'Connell
Yeah.
has made that dude, reinvented him.
Hmm.
I think he's a phenomenal coach. And if Sam Darnold's smart, I think he stays put.
Yeah.
Um, and then JJ learns off of him and O'Connell and
Hmm.
then starts after that. A 2-year deal, I don't know, 60 mil
Hmm.
total.
Yeah.
I think that's
Not bad.
reasonable.
Hmm.
And then, you have the buildup of JJ.
Yeah.
And he could fill in, should God forbid an injury.
Hmm.
I think that makes the most sense. But yeah, just kind of want to hear your thoughts on that because
Hmm.
that's going to be a big talk of the
Yeah.
offseason,
Hmm.
in kind of foreshadowing. But more talk of the offseason for eliminated teams here, John.
Hmm.
Um, Steelers
Yeah.
didn't make it out of this first week
Hmm.
of the playoffs. Um, want to hear there's a lot of chatter
There
about
is.
Mike Tomlin and the future of him. I want to hear your thoughts of is it time for him to go from the Steelers franchise?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of it too. I've heard a lot of Steelers fans saying he should just go, but my personal thought is Steelers shouldn't let him go because who's going to replace him? Who could do what Mike Tomlin has done? Because this is another team, the Steelers. I don't think we thought they were going to be this great. Their record, we thought they were going to be probably one of the lower ranking teams in the AFC North, and they were competing up to week 18 for, taking the AFC North. So, you have to give credit to Mike Tomlin there. I always had question marks about their quarterback of, you know, um, Russell Wilson and fuck, why am I blanking on his name?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. Not the best quarterbacks. Justin Fields, I love the guy, man. I like his quarterback play. I've always been a fan of Justin Fields, ever from Ohio State. I felt like Chicago should have stuck with him. I think they could have developed something there with him. But I also understand Caleb Williams was a high sought out prospect, so they had to take him. But I don't think that this is the best fit for Justin Fields. He needs to get some more confidence, but I think Mike Tomlin should stay put. I don't think they should let him go just because who's gonna come in and take this franchise to where you need to go. Mike Tomlin has been on that team for so long and has proven so much, and I think it'd be a mistake for them to let him go. But I know all these other teams, they're gonna reach out about him because why wouldn't you?
Of course, yeah, and with all this chatter, it kind of brings up kind of like that Mike McCarthy thing of, hey, it sounds like he's going to be available.
Hmm.
Let us get a little head start here. Because I think a lot of teams would have him. I'm with you. Ultimately, they shouldn't part ways with
Hmm.
Tomlin. I don't think I think they're far outperforming
Hmm.
expectations right now.
Yeah.
Um, they're throwing together two brand new quarterbacks at once,
Hmm.
and for them to still get double digits in
Hmm.
victories, make the playoffs, be
Yeah.
defensive dominant again. Um, just continue on with JJ Watt at
Yeah.
the helm and probably find maybe a little bit better QB situation
Yeah.
with. I don't know what it is with Steelers wide receivers going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but
Yeah.
maybe just I suppose drafting well and maybe finding some offensive
Hmm.
threats, maybe a replacement for Najee because it sounds like
Hmm.
he might be on the run. Um, but yeah, I think you got to stick with Tomlin. But I will
Hmm.
say maybe if they venture away from Tomlin per se,
Hmm.
we've seen wilder things. Um, I think McCarthy's an interesting name.
Yeah.
It's something that I know we talked about a little bit ago, but with McCarthy having parting ways with the Cowboys today,
Hmm.
January 13th, of this recording, I'm
Hmm.
kind of curious what you think the fit would be if McCarthy were to go to Pittsburgh.
I think he'd do well there. I think everywhere Mike McCarthy has gone the first few years, he has developed a team. He has had good records. But I think after a while, like I said, when we talk about Mike McCarthy, aka Tubbs,
Yeah.
the buffet line has to stay hot and great, and it probably is like that the first few years, and then it starts dying down, and that's where the performance starts to die down. So I think it's not a bad idea. I think if the Steelers let go of Tomlin, they should do it in a trade. I think try to get draft capital, just the way the Saints traded Sean Payton, for a first and second rounder. Try to get the same, maybe more, from a team that's desperate. Because, like I say, and like you mentioned, Steelers, they've struggled with quarterbacks. I think they've drafted quarterbacks and they've just have not hit, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph. I don't think they've developed into the quarterbacks they were hoping for, ever since Big Ben left. You know, you got to work on the running back if it's not going to be Najee, because Najee, I think we all thought he was going to be a workhorse and a great running back, but I don't think they've used him the way they've had that some of us imagined with Jalen Warren coming up. Their defense is pretty solid. I think they just need more confidence. Um, with Watt there, TJ Watt. But yeah, I think they really should if they want to get move on from Mike Tomlin, they should try to trade him. Don't let him go for free. Try to get some draft capital because like I say, you're gonna be rebuilding no matter what. You need wide receivers, you need a quarterback because Russell Wilson, not young. Justin Fields is a little younger, but I don't know if it's gonna match that new coach you have coming in. And I think one of the follow-up questions I had for you, Tim, with this and this topic that I thought about is that the Steelers haven't been drafting well with quarterbacks, some of their offense. Do you blame more a GM when, the draft doesn't go well? Do you blame the coach? And, if you blame the GM, that shows a lot with Mike Tomlin because he dealt with all these bad, horrible picks and he still has kept contending teams. So why do you want to lose that coach?
Yeah. I think that the GM has a bigger say in who you're drafting or signing, an offseason presence. And then you kind of just look towards the head coach as, what do you think? Kind of
Hmm.
thing. You know, we've had a lot of insights on how draft days go, unless you're like a guy like Bill Belichick who just does it
Yeah.
all. And has his dog present for drafts.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's yeah, and that just kind of goes back to like Tomlin was given two brand new quarterbacks this year.
Mhm.
And to perform the way they did, I don't think a lot of people are
Yeah.
really I think it was the expectation that at this point, a first round exit from the playoffs was
Mhm.
very, it was something that very well could have happened. So,
Yeah.
but in order to get there,
Hmm.
not a lot of people had faith in that team, and
Hmm.
he did a lot more with even Justin Fields in the few games he played,
Yeah.
than the Bears ever did with him. So yeah, it would be a big line for teams that would want a guy like Tomlin. I think that the Steelers would
Hmm.
it just wouldn't be a good look.
Yeah.
I think you keep a guy like Tomlin, you build around him,
Hmm.
and I think you let that guy have a lot more say in who you draft. Going
Hmm.
back to draft days, and there could be a decent, poll. I don't know the exact position where they are going to pick at this point in
Hmm.
time, but there could be just a late flyer,
Yeah.
in maybe they come up with something that is maybe a bit more stable for the future. But
Hmm.
um, I mean, as far as contracts go, are they are they under the is Russell Wilson and Fields on a 1 year deal?
Um, I think they got another year.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll see. Tomlin, best fit right now. We have Cowboys, Bears, Jets, Jags, Saints, Raiders. What do you think his best fit would be?
We'll go Jags.
Jags.
And I think that's going to be the best thing for Trevor Lawrence that he could have ever
Hmm.
wanted. Um, Look at what Tomlin did with Big Ben.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not going to say Trevor Lawrence is similar to Big Ben, but
Yeah.
I will say that he is more similar to Big Ben, I guess, running wise
Hmm.
than what he has now
Yeah.
in scramble QBs. Russell Wilson at this point in his career isn't much, but Fields certainly was.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that he could make a lot more of Trevor Lawrence
Hmm.
in his career, and I think that that would be the best freaking thing to ever happen to Trevor Lawrence because I'm not. I've made this known last week. I'm not a big fan of Balky. That
I
guy
was about to
fucking
ask.
sucks.
Do you
That
think
guy's so
Balky
ass.
can Balky make that happen?
And quite frankly, I thought, a quick thing on Balky. I think it was so hilarious that Shad Khan goes on an interview with Balky and says that he's going to lean towards whatever the head coach wants, and that freaking Balky is very expendable. And he said it to his face on a public
Yeah.
interview. So he doesn't think much of Balky either,
Hmm.
and Balky's face said it all. And I think it's literally ideal.
Hmm.
I funny thing is I spoke with my dad shortly after. I showed him the clip of the Balky thing, and we kind of briefly spoke on it, and he too was super surprised they stuck with Balky. It runs in the family. We're not big Balky
Hmm.
fans,
Yeah.
and um, yeah. But going back to Tomlin, I think that's the best fit.
Hmm.
There's a lot on that defense too.
Yeah. It's a good D.
Uh, yeah, so I think that there's a lot to build off of, and that could be a good fit for Tomlin. It's
Hmm.
a very winnable division in my opinion, especially based off of the Colts and Texans' performance
Hmm.
this past year. I'm even kind of excusing the Titans and what they are right now.
Hmm.
So you know, uh, I think it's a good fit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Tomlin to the Jags seems the best out of that because,
Hmm.
like you said earlier, Brady could be the next head coach of the Raiders. So
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Jags is the best place for Tomlin to start winning now, just because there's an established quarterback. Like I say, we don't like Trevor Lawrence's contract, what they paid him, but we do know he has that some skill that he just needs a right coach, and it could be Tomlin that makes him shine and makes him this top paying QB that he already is. So I think that would be the best option. We'll see if Balky can make that happen. If Balky hears this and does what we say, give us credit, man. Give credit where credit's due because you don't know what you're doing. We do know a lot more. Um,
We
so,
do. Let
so
us
you know,
freaking be with Jacksonville at this
yeah,
point. We
yeah,
know more than Balky. That guy's
yeah.
ass. He doesn't
So,
know.
but yeah, I think that would be the best place. But yeah, I think Steelers stick with Tomlin unless they get some draft capital for him. And if they let
Yeah.
him go for free, let him walk, Steelers are just gonna. It's just a dumb move. I know all these
Poverty.
fans. Hmm.
Poverty franchise.
Yes, they
Call
could
it.
be.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're letting go of an amazing coach, and we'll talk a little bit about more about coaches, and we sort of talked about it last week. There's only a handful of coaches in this league that you would want to sign that are going to go, that sign for better deals,
Yep.
and for great gigs. And Tomlin is one of those coaches that sort of is irreplaceable. There's only a handful. Andy Reid in Kansas City. I always said Tomlin was untouchable. Harbaugh in Baltimore. Those are the, three. Shanahan, you could sort of he's more on the risky side now, but he was sort of untouchable. Harbaugh and with the Chargers now too, and McVay. Those are coaches
McVay.
you
Yep.
you, you aren't going to let go unless they decide to leave, you know.
Hmm.
And if you don't want them anymore, you got to get something for them because it's sort of letting LeBron James walk of coaching, you know. So
Yep.
Steelers let him go for nothing. They're dumb. I understand the fans are pissed that they've been eliminated first round the last 6 years. But like I say, there's some of these teams that haven't even made the playoffs in 20 years. So be happy you're making the playoffs. Be happy you have a coach that still keeps your team relevant and doesn't get you that poverty franchise. You know, sign Bulky if you guys feel like he might give you a better
Oh,
chance.
jeez. That dude just, from what I've heard, he is the stereotypical yes man. Um, God, I fucking hate that guy. I'm sorry. But just what he did with my Niners, he decimated
Yeah.
them. I don't know. Yeah, that guy just needs to be an assistant to somebody. That's about it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of that's kind of how he waltzed into
Mhm.
that Jaguars job too, was he
Mhm.
took on a lesser role
Yeah.
and then they fired their GM. And then he's like, hey, I'll be acting GM. And
Yeah.
Shad Khan says, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
And then here he is, and he just kind of kept the role, maybe for the same
Yeah.
salary. I don't know. And
So
maybe
nice
he just
salary though.
takes that little during
Yeah.
live interviews and is
Yeah.
like, okay, I am expendable, but
Yeah.
maybe I can go back to my assistant job. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Getting paid
If I were,
millions.
yeah, if I were Shad Khan, I don't know. Maybe look at Theo Epstein, like we
Yeah.
talked about last week. I think
Mhm.
that's a valid take.
Yeah.
But anywho, moving on to I guess people that are good in their roles.
Hmm.
Shout out Freeman
Hmm.
with Notre Dame. That take lives on, and I'm happy
It
to
does.
say. I told John this past week that I was very corny and cheesy to include Angels in the Outfield theme
Yes.
music with that take. But
With that
hey, I'll
take
take a
it.
take. And if John in the Rams lives on, I think that deserves Angels in the Outfield
Hmm.
this past
Yeah.
week. So I'll clip that too. But anyways, Freeman continuing on, he's still winning.
Hmm.
Great game this past weekend.
Yeah.
And his defeat of Penn State, that's no easy
Hmm.
feat. And right, Penn State, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he continues on, and this past week we learned about, hey, Bears want to interview him.
Hmm.
So here we are. I guess one big thing is, John, is you took the clip and posted it on TikTok, and
Hmm.
we received some comments which we love, good
Yeah.
or bad.
Yeah.
We
We're
don't
not
care.
hating
We
on
we
them.
love it. We love it because that's what
Yeah.
sports is all about in content in general. Is we want to hear both sides,
Hmm.
and we love the debate. That's exactly
Yeah.
why we're here. So yeah, John, I definitely want to hear your take on the Freeman stuff
Yeah.
and maybe some of the comments we received.
Yeah, no, I think it was a solid take from you back in December. You know, I don't think anybody was talking about it back then, and now it's everywhere. Freeman talking to the Bears, and some of these comments, we don't know what fan base they are, but a lot of them don't see Freeman going. Some of them say he signed a new contract, so he's not going to go. But I understand. I'm a Notre Dame fan. If they win the national championship, of course, I want to see him continuing coaching that team and taking them back to the Natty. But we talked about it last week. When you're playing football, there's one coaching job everybody's aiming for in all divisions, and that's to be an NFL head coach. And I think if Freeman gets that opportunity, I think he's going to take it because it might be a once in a lifetime opportunity. It might not open up again. It might open up again, but you're going to go to the Jaguars, you're going to go to the Titans, which aren't that great of teams, and you have to understand going to that. If you can't change them around, you're never going to be a head coach again, and you have to go back to college. So going to a team like the Bears that have Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, they have great offense, decent defense, and they just need
Yeah,
coaching. Maybe they need a new GM as well. But I respect all the comments of people saying no, he's not going, and I wouldn't want to see him go. But I also think that's the job of a lifetime. That's the job all these coaches go for, and that's their goal. And if he gets the opportunity, I think he's going to take it. But like I said, that's just my thought. I don't. He might be just so committed to Notre Dame that he won't take it, but I feel like it's the most ideal job for all these coaches being a NFL head coach.
absolutely. He's still very young.
Hmm.
I want to say he's what, 39, if
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think so.
mistaken.
Yeah,
So, I mean, hairline got better.
yeah,
That's a big talk than his playing career.
uh,
I need his guy in Turkey, by the way. I could use that.
yeah,
I don't know. Fidel, recent guest on our pod, as mentioned before, he sent me a clip of his hairline from his playing days till
yeah,
now, and it has improved.
yeah.
I'm
Hey,
not up for speculation, but hey, if he has a guy in Turkey, let me know. But that's more content too. I would film that my trip to
hmm.
Turkey. But I do have the post pulled up here on TikTok, John.
Hmm.
And first comment from Raider 12210. He's a college guy. I know he just recently signed the extension,
Hmm.
but as you mentioned, 1 in 32 chance of being in an NFL
Hmm.
role. I know Notre Dame, the history there
Yeah.
is obviously second to almost none. So that's obviously there, but the NFL is still the next level up.
Hmm.
And the Bears have a lot going for them. Young QB and a lot to build around, and
Hmm.
then a new stadium probably in the works,
Yeah.
and a historic franchise. So you get that opportunity as a young
Hmm.
coach, and you can develop a lot. And I'm sure the leash is going to be a bit longer.
Yeah.
I think this time around, you have just a QB that you have a lot more confidence in, and maybe the
Hmm.
players around have more confidence in, and that could be more,
Hmm.
just more there. Next comment. Freeman is not leaving Notre Dame, and that's from Austin Cox. And seems like a big Notre Dame fan. You responded, I don't want to see him go, but the NFL is the goal for all football coaches. I completely agree.
Hmm.
Hence why we made this take.
Yeah.
And his response to you, which is great to see, he just signed an extension and isn't going to pull a Brian Kelly, especially not after this year. Brian Kelly went just to another college.
Hmm.
He went to the SEC,
Yeah.
LSU. So I don't even know if I mean Jaden Daniels kind of made his first couple years there or one
Hmm.
year there. So he's gone. LSU wasn't really talked about much this
Hmm.
past year, in my opinion. So Brian Kelly, I don't know, he changed his accent to go down south. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
So Brian Kelly is a unique individual.
Hmm.
So I do think, in contrary, I think the Bears sound better.
Hmm.
And moving along, Scott, his name is just Scott. It's
Straight
that's
up.
a
Hey, it's his
great
government name.
poll. Yeah, it's a great poll. Or he just signed an extension before the Indiana game, so he isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Probably, another Notre Dame fan.
Hmm.
Valid though. And then you did respond. I'll read your response. Could be. We talked during this episode that the NFL head coaching jobs are the goal, and to get head coaching jobs in the pros, or to get for all of the head coaching jobs in college and the pros.
Hmm.
Would he really say no to the opportunity? I
Hmm.
completely agree. I think the Bears still hold
Yeah.
more precedent over any college role.
Yeah.
Um, you could give me Bama at this point.
Hmm.
Give me Georgia at this point. I just think the Bears sound better.
Yeah.
A role like maybe Jacksonville or, you name it, Carolina Panthers.
Hmm.
Those sound a little bit lesser, but I
Yeah.
don't know, just something about the Bears. It just holds so much. They're talked about a lot.
Hmm.
It's in a major city. It's well traveled. Um, NFC North is
Hmm.
garnering just a
Yeah.
whole lot of just action these days. It's a
Hmm.
really competitive division. So I just think it's a big chance to compete. And then our final comment that you received on your TikTok post was from DJ Murphy. Just plain and simple, nope.
Yeah.
Just a nope.
That was a
Which is
good one.
great. Yeah,
That's an
super
amazing one.
valid. Probably another Notre Dame fan.
Yeah.
Shout out Notre Dame. You guys made a great hire. Marcus Freeman is done great things there.
Hmm.
We're seeing a Notre Dame team that has made it further than a lot of other teams that in previous years.
Hmm.
So yeah, you don't want to see a guy like that go.
Yeah.
But again, Bears over Notre Dame. I think that's all it comes down
Yeah.
to. And it's garnering a whole lot more action these days, and I can see it happening. And yeah, that's the take.
Yeah. Yeah, and like something else with this that I always think about it, it's like, he's going to a national championship game. That's on Monday next month. This not today, the 13th, the 20th though. But if he could go and win that game, he did everything he needed to for Notre Dame, and he's ready for that next step. Why is he going to go back? Why not try to do that in the pros? And like you say, the Bears, that franchise history of the Bears, you can't say no to him. You can't, and especially with the team that they have around. And then the other sort of take with that is there's a lot of talk about Notre Dame being, an independent team, not being in a big conference, and sort of saying, that they should join a conference. I think that talk also is sort of going to push him out because there's a lot of scrutiny against the Notre Dame never joining, the SEC, ACC, any of these big name conferences, and sort of taking the easy road to the national championship, and that, how many of these analysts, other coaches are going to give an asterisk to Notre Dame if they win this national championship? So it's like, he did what he did for Notre Dame. If he wins it, he's always going to be in the history books for them. Hey, go make history with the Bears. You take that Bears and you win a Super Bowl with the Chicago Bears, you're going to go down as one of the best coaches in history, winning a national championship and taking Notre Dame from nothing, from a popular program to winning a national championship and then taking the Bears to winning a Super Bowl. That's the storied franchise for you to be remembered for life. You'll be getting streets, buildings named after you in Chicago.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a super valid take. And yeah, I mean, right now, the Fighting Irish live on NBC,
Hmm.
and you're right. They garner a ton of scrutiny for that. So,
Hmm.
um, the tick lives on, and I think
Hmm.
that's number one here. And
Yeah.
we love the contrary.
Yeah.
We live for it. So we love both sides.
Hmm.
Being agreeable is one thing, but I think what sports brings about is competition.
Hmm.
And we love to hear both sides. So,
Yeah.
I think if you're a huge Notre Dame fan, you want to keep Marcus Freeman for as long as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And I think that's super valid, and we love to hear it. But and he just signed an extension, which is much needed and deserved. So, um, it really comes down to just him.
Hmm.
We'll see what he decides.
Yeah.
I for one, John for one, I'm sure, being co-host to me, because I demand he agrees with me, loves this bear stick. So we'll
Yeah.
see how that goes on. And moving along, a guy that's not so in shape,
Yeah.
Tubbs. We talked about him last week. We talked
Yeah.
about him other weeks. Maybe the buffet is closed.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy is no longer the Cowboys head coach.
Yeah.
What direction do we think they go?
The the Cowboys, there was a post I saw, Jerry Jones is going to take up a head coaching duty, so head coach,
Oh,
GM, owner. But
excellent.
I don't know what they're going to do because it seems like they could have fired Mike McCarthy a lot earlier and probably interviewed some of these hot names. Um, you know, Joe Brady. There's a lot of names out here right now that already have been interviewing and have the head start on you. And I I don't know what they're gonna do. I've heard Deion Sanders probably coming to the Cowboys. But from what I've also have seen, Deion wants to coach both his boys, so the Cowboys have to draft both of those kiddos to probably have that chance. But another take I saw today that I thought was totally accurate, and it sort of goes, I hate to bring him up, goes against Micah Parsons of Dallas being the place to go that everybody wants to go is uh, was it Troy Aikman saying today that this is not an ideal place to go coaching. This is not the coaching opening. It's not ideal. It's not really a hot commodity of people signing up to go. And I think it's because of Jerry Jones. And it sucks to say that a GM is sort of hindering a team like this because hearing that from a quarterback that used to QB for the Cowboys saying it's your GM that's stopping people going to your team, why isn't Jerry Jones getting this message? So I'm curious what the Cowboys are gonna do because like I think I've said it before, not a Cowboys fan, but when the Cowboys win, the Cowboys are relevant. It's good for football. It's good for everybody. Um, but until Jerry Jones leaves and gives up duties, it's not gonna change.
Yeah, and you hope a guy like Steven Jones shows up. He's been asking Daddy for quite a few
Yeah.
years for a bigger role. And, Daddy Jerry Jones says, "Slow down, son. You're not ready, young buck."
Yep.
Even though he's probably 65 years old at this point. It's yeah, it's just it's Jerry Jones's little baby, and
Hmm.
he's gonna ride it out till he dies. And I don't think a whole lot changes. Even with the signing of Dion, I
Hmm.
think it attracts a lot more eyes. Um, but I don't know if Dion's even going to take the role, just
Hmm.
knowing how much, um, Jerry controls. I
Yeah.
think that's just a really difficult situation. Uh, you jump into a scenario where you try to talk to somebody and say, "Hey, um, maybe that's not a good idea," but then that person says, "No, you're going to listen to
Hmm.
what I say. I have more
Yeah.
money invested, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
That's a really tough situation.
Hmm.
I think Dion's better off staying at Colorado
Hmm.
or looking for something else.
Yeah.
I don't think the Cowboys is it. I kind of like you mentioned, Troy Aikman mentioned, it's not as desirable as it once was.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons, he's there, probably a little bit delusional, because he
He,
is there.
yeah. He's
Uh,
supporting his team, so I understand why, but I think in the back of his mind, he also knows like what's stopping, but he can't say it because it's the guy who signs his check.
Absolutely. And, I'll clip this, Sean. And I think the biggest hope for maybe 2025 is that we can have a debate with Micah Parsons about whether or not this is desirable. Because I think
Mhm.
we'd both argue a point where it's not, and he
Mhm.
would argue a point where
Yeah.
it is. So I think that's valid. I'd love to hear it. And
Mhm.
maybe we can garner that opportunity. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, as of for now, Tubbs, he's on the run or maybe walk. But hey, one scenario out there is, quick little mention.
Mhm.
Mike Tomlin laid off.
Yeah.
McCarthy's from the area. Maybe McCarthy ends up back in
Mhm.
Pittsburgh. That's one scenario floating out there. But
Mhm.
you bring up a point here, John. Moving along to Fred Warner. Fred Warner, he was on live TV this past week. Kind of talked about, just I saw a clip of him talking about the Eagles matchup and what you do against Jalen Hurts, but he also mentioned some stuff about Purdy in San
Hmm.
Francisco. Fred Warner saying Purdy will be in San Francisco for a very long time. And as an outsider, John, how do you feel about that? Or do you feel like that's maybe just a stirring the pot for media?
Um, I want I want to say I hope he's just being a good team player. Purdy's still technically on the team, doesn't want to put him down. Um, keep his confidence up. But I think if that's the route, the only way I would feel comfortable for the 49ers, if it's not for as much money as we're expecting him wanting, has to be a reduced money. It can't be the $60 million a year, this top QB money, because I think we've all seen flaws in his game, not having certain players, offensive line. Like I say, yeah, a lot of quarterbacks need it, but even when he has had it, he hasn't shown much. So I th I hope it's not for long if it's the case, and I hope it's not for a lot of money because if it is for a lot of money, you guys are in trouble because I think one of the posts I sent you that the 49ers needed who they need to resign, Greenlaw.
Greenlaw. Oh
That's
my God. Yeah.
that's I
Oh, I
think
pray.
that's the I feel like that's a priority. Him and Fred Warner in that linebacker duo, the best linebacker duo in the NFL, and that's gonna keep you guys floating. You
Yep.
guys made a move with Purdy, you found him. Kudos that you guys got so far with him for the amount of years you did, but for what he wants, for what he's proven, it might not be worth it because then you're not going to be able to sign anybody else. And I think, like we've mentioned, there's other quarterbacks. Find that next Sam Darnold that could do something for you for 1 year. They got close this year. Daniel Jones, he's, a decent QB. If you guys have a healthy team, he could take you guys to the Super Bowl as well.
Yeah, hey, valid take from earlier in a couple pods ago.
Huh.
That's a name to float out there. But I think the bigger precedent in it all is the right dollar amount. So that
Hmm.
way you can re-sign a guy like Greenlaw, kind of like you
Yeah.
mentioned. He's most recently affiliated, I guess, with the Buffalo Bills.
Hmm.
Buffalo Bills looking to build maybe more in this offseason. They let a lot go last offseason. Um, God, I'd hate to see him go. I just think that the team was so thrilled to see him back. Obviously, there's a
Hmm.
lot of camaraderie built there. And this offseason, I wouldn't be surprised to see a guy like Debo go.
Hmm.
So maybe it frees up some money and
Yeah.
we can kind of build something around it. But Purdy really needs to be at a more modest amount.
Hmm.
Um, I hate to say it. I know that maybe in the locker room they're committed to a lot, but he just doesn't make the difference
Hmm.
like a guy like Burrow
Yeah.
or Mahomes, or I'm not even going to include Prescott because they're out of their minds over there. Mixed to a team.
Yeah.
So I think that if we can build something providing him a modest amount, but more obviously than what he makes currently, I think that will just set us up for such a good run moving
Hmm.
forward. And it would just make a big difference. But I hate to say it, and I don't want to like put words in Purdy's mouth.
Hmm.
I feel like he's the type of guy that would take a more modest amount.
Hmm.
I do. I think he's a good human being. Um, I think he thinks a lot about the team and the team aspect versus himself.
Yeah.
He seems like his upbringing and maybe his beliefs kind of lead him to that. So, I kind of hope that, maybe that plays a lot into it and he can maybe just rely on a lot on Toyota
Hmm.
and their sponsorships to
Yeah.
provide for him. And to make up the difference. So if he can take a modest amount, we can re-sign a guy like Greenlaw and draft well and maybe
Hmm.
go after some receivers in free agency and let Debo walk. So
Yeah.
that's the hope. But I'll defer to Fred Warner and what he believes and
Yeah.
who he sees in the locker room. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It,
interesting going forward.
if Fred Warner had a say in it, and it was between Greenlaw and Purdy re-signing, who do you think he'd pick?
God, he speaks so highly of Greenlaw. God, that's tough. I feel like he would say, I feel like he would lean Greenlaw. I just feel like he's such a big talker about
Hmm.
Greenlaw. He was so thrilled to see him back.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's interviews of Fred Warner in the off or during the season, just about what a difference it makes seeing Greenlaw come back.
Hmm.
And I guess kind of what stirred the pot was a lot of what Fred Warner's wife was posting, in kind of like a see you later post,
Yeah,
I
I saw
guess, of
that.
Greenlaw's significant other. So Yeah, I just think he's such a big difference maker. I think he would lean Greenlaw, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Yeah, I think they would lean Greenlaw. I think he would. I think if Greenlaw didn't go down in the Super Bowl the way he did, I think 49ers would have won that game. I think that really changed the momentum for them, seeing one of their big defensive players go out the way he did hurt their chances. So I don't want to see him back in San Francisco. I think it's a great place next to Fred Warner, great duo, but we'll see. And yeah, I think Purdy's a good guy. I think he understands, but I think, money talks. And if it's not going to be 49ers, hey, Balky is there to pay another
Oh,
quarterback.
shut up. Oh, shut up. I gotta hate Balky so much. Ah, God.
Two,
I was
two,
hoping
two,
that
two max
that Balky
QBs.
pick would get more views, but yeah, no, Balky is so bad. Oh my God. Yeah, that guy needs to take like second fiddle to somebody because that's all he deserves.
Yeah. So,
We could do a better job as a
yeah.
tandem, honestly.
Yeah.
Just
But
horrible.
yeah, but that's our NFL takes. Any other takes, Tim, that came up?
Um, no, I think that's it. I think that kind of encompasses this week in full. And I'm certainly excited for the matchups to come.
Nice. All right, and then for our last topic for today's episode, one of the news that I heard because I am a movie fan, Sonic 3 just
Oh.
became the second highest grossing video game movie adaptation, and kudos to Sonic. I don't know, have you seen the movie yet, Tim?
One and two, me and Theo were obsessed with.
Yeah,
And we were actually we haven't seen three. Maybe tomorrow, because
yeah,
that would be a treat to me to go to the theater with my kiddo and
yeah,
Ariel. She's still a little young to last
yeah,
through a movie, but maybe me and Theo could venture out
yeah,
and watch Sonic 3 because I was personally thrilled to see Jim Carrey
yeah.
make a comeback because supposedly Sonic 2 was going to be his last gig.
Hmm.
So him to come back in 3
Yeah,
was like, whoa.
yeah,
And I was shocked to see it in trailers. So
yeah,
it looked amazing. And this was a great topic. I'm really happy that you brought it back
hmm,
up because 3 was one that I was hoping to see over Christmas break. But I think with Jim Carrey coming back, with Sonic and Knuckles, just the combo of them
hmm,
in general,
yeah,
it's just amazing. So,
yeah.
in Tails, can't forget about
Tails,
Tails.
yeah,
It's great. I think they're great films. They're enjoyable for
hmm,
myself growing up with
yeah,
Sonic. So, it's a great adaptation.
yeah.
Good example.
Yeah, no, I saw it, enjoyed the movie a lot, liked one and two a lot, seeing Shadow, the story. Like I said,
Yep.
won't say too much about it, but if you play the video games, you know the video games a bit. It just takes you back to being a kid. So that's why I think these video game adaptation movies, they've been amazing. I think the highest grossing one was Super Mario Brothers, the most recent one. The the cartoon one you could say that looks a lot more real life. But I will say Super Mario, the old one with John Leguizamo. I've always enjoyed watching it, even though it was the weirdest movie ever. I still one of those cult classic Super Mario movies for me. But there's been so many recently, so many successful adaptations to video games. So such as Fallout, the TV show, Super Mario, like I mentioned, Tomb Raider, Silent Hill, Resident Evil came up with I don't know how many movies, not even
Yeah.
related to the video game, but still some comebacks to some of the video game topics. And then like also recently, Five Nights at Freddy's, that was a movie. They're coming out with a sequel for that one too. So um one of the questions, Tim, we'll go back and forth, we'll share. But what are two video game adaptations you would want to see?
So one I will put out there is Grand Theft Auto. I think it could be really any of the games.
Uh-huh.
I just feel like the storyline to him, Grand Theft Auto 5,
Mhm.
for example, you have Michael, you have what's his face out in the desert? I forget his name.
Mhm.
Trevor.
Trevor, yeah.
Just from me, you, Fidel,
Mhm.
Richie, Jonathan, no. Jonathan gave up very during
Yeah.
create a character,
Yeah.
which is a running joke for us. But the four of us playing it, it's really like fond memories for me. I feel like if you get a good friend group that just enjoys the same exact thing
Mhm.
and playing the same game as yourself, especially where you kind of have a role in Grand Theft Auto where it almost feels
Mhm.
endless. Like it feels like you can build a lot upon it. It feels
Yeah.
like it's never ending. It feels like there's just more and more to buy. There's constant updates to it. And we've even
Mhm.
recently talked about even this past weekend, when we all
Mhm.
played Call of Duty, Fidel and I pitched to you, John, of just, hey, let's get back to
Hmm.
playing GTA again
Yeah.
until GTA 6 comes out, which I know that we will live stream it and we'll
Yeah.
be really big on because we have those memories of kind of developing these
Hmm.
quote unquote businesses and,
Yeah.
me running into a gas station pump and blowing up and ruining the mission. We have to
Yeah.
redrive it all over again.
Yeah.
But if a movie form or TV form of
Mhm.
that would appear, it would make me think back to those memories. And I just feel like the storyline could be really good. And you could find those real life characters, even the ones that were
Yeah.
voicing them. They fit perfectly because they
Hmm.
look like them.
Yeah.
So you implement that to something real life. I would be 100% a viewer of it.
I think that'd be a very good one, and I think that one would be very good for a TV show, like you mentioned, because,
Mhm.
like you said, endless story. You know, the stories I had with GTA 6, even GTA 5 or 5, 4, Vice City, those stories could go on so long, and you could create so many other stories based off the GTA world. And seeing that in a TV show, different stories, like different episodes, being like a different heist, different mission type thing, would be so interesting. But I think the one concern would be like, which network is going to pick up a show that's sort of on the edge of that rated R, NC-17 type rating. Because if you remember some of the Grand Theft Auto stuff,
Yeah.
not suitable for children, what I'll
You're
say.
not wrong. I think the one thing I think about is Netflix. They're
Netflix.
buying everything right now.
Yeah.
WWE is a big thing on Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix would probably be where it's at right at the
Yeah.
moment, in my opinion,
Yeah. No, it'd be
or
good.
HBO.
Yeah, HBO. They show up a lot of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would be a good one. One of my picks for an adaptation, either TV show, movie, it'd be BioShock, the video game.
Oh,
That's a video game I've always enjoyed, and I think we talked about it a while ago. I've liked video games. I like it for the multiplayer, being able to all of us play, just have a good time. But I've also liked the story modes, and BioShock has a great story. BioShock 1, BioShock 2, great story that I would want to see on the big screen, with the I think they were called the daddies, all those special powers, the way CGI is nowadays, they could do so much with it, it takes place underwater, it would look amazing. And I think that's an amazing story, amazing visuals. I think it'd be good as a TV show. It reminds me of the TV show Fallout. That's one TV show I'll say, love that TV show, love the video game, excited where they're taking it and how closely to the video game they adapted it. That's what I'd want to see out of BioShock. So that's one of my picks.
BioShock is phenomenal choice.
Yeah,
There's a big storyline there.
yeah,
I personally, I'll be honest, I wasn't one that got super into it, but I had a lot of friends that were in high school
yeah,
because it was really big in high school.
yeah.
I think that's a great choice. I,
Hmm.
I think that could be really big. The storyline's big, and it would be very easy to make a show out of it. So
Hmm.
yeah, BioShock, phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like it a lot. My next one, I was really avid gamer of this one. Kind of, I don't know why, but it really kind of storied my high school years of gaming. Gears of War
Yep.
is just huge to me. It would definitely be more of a horror
Yeah.
show. Again, I'm gonna lean towards show. Movie, it's a lot to fit into one, so I'm more
Hmm.
of a fan of having a show of something.
Hmm.
Um, to kind of just display, I guess, a longer
Hmm.
visual of something. So, yeah, Gears of War show, I think would be huge going up against the Locust.
Hmm.
One big thing looking back to high school is my freshman year of high school, Gears of War was just humongous.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy, shout out Max. He would show up to our English class and he was like a really good Gears of War player.
Yeah.
But jokingly, he would show up to class and would have the machine gun slash chainsaw, and he would walk up to me and go, no, 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 and like,
Just like in the
he
video
would, yeah, he would like fake chainsaw me, and I'd be like, at first, because I didn't have the game yet, I'd be
game.
like, dude, like, what is that from? And
Yeah.
he'd be like, oh, Gears of War. Like, have you played it? I'm like, no. And then he'd be like, oh, dude, get it. And then
Yeah.
instantly I went and downloaded it
Yeah.
and I didn't look back. Gears of War 1, Gears of War 2, I was just such a big fan of. And me and my
Mhm.
buddies we'd play it constantly. And I'm sorry, I'm not that fucked up, but like, you know, just the sniper headshots of the pop sound,
Yeah.
Call of Duty can't top it.
No.
Dude, like just that I
Yeah.
I can't even explain it. Like just that
Eh,
sound, it's like, dude, nailed that headshot.
Yeah. No.
Like, come on. It's
Gears of
one of a
War.
kind.
It is, and like you mentioned, some of them just graphics and that chainsaw. I always remember doing the chainsaw on the Locust on anybody,
Oh
and
my God.
just the first time I did it, I was like, "Holy shit, you guys are really putting this in a video game!
Yeah.
This is amazing!" And you just kept on wanting to do it. You couldn't stop it. You couldn't stop it. So seeing that
Yeah.
on a TV show or a movie, that'd be amazing. And just like I think, like all these what we've talked about so far, great storyline. One, two, and three, great
Yep.
stories, and,
Yep.
and it kept you hooked wanting to play the game. So yeah, that'd be an awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. My next one sort of goes back to a classic, goes back to for me at least, the N64 days. Zelda, the Ocarina of
Oh,
Time. That
so good.
video game, like I say, one of my favorite
Yep.
video games. Still enjoy play it. Like I find ways to play it on my Nintendo Switch, and great story. I enjoyed it as a kid. I remember doing the little fishing mini games, trying to get those big fishes. Like I feel like that Zelda, there's a lot of Zeldas, but I think that one would be a great movie. Just the story, how you could develop it. And like I say, Zelda's an iconic character. There's going to be 50, 60-year-olds going to it because Zelda was around during the Nintendo days, so those little pixels just moving up and down, so I feel like that would be a movie that would be or even TV show that I'd be so interested to watch.
I completely agree. It's a huge storyline. Obviously a lot of I guess hidden like messages and
Yeah,
just I guess gameplay altogether.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that Zelda is a great choice. The storyline's huge.
yeah. No, that's one. And then one honorable mention. It was on my list, but I didn't say it. But Metal Gear Solid. I feel like that'd
Oh
be a great
my
TV show
God.
because of the different games, all the same Snake. So you could start from his younger days, first season, up to like 5, 6. So that's one for me. I think seeing that in TV would be amazing, just like Fallout.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid. That was a really big arcade game, right? Um,
Console.
yeah,
Yeah,
console. Okay.
yeah.
Because I feel like I remember playing that like as a like arcade game at like a pizzeria close by.
Okay.
Um, I feel like it had like an arcade form.
No, I
And
think you're thinking of Metal
Metal
Slug.
Slug. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, my bad. Yeah, Metal Slug. Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, likewise, kind of same
Yeah.
ordeal. Yeah, no, it's a really good choice. I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's just one that I enjoy playing the game, and I think it'd be a cool movie or TV show.
Yeah, no, I think that
Yeah.
would be super good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. Metal Gear Slug, I guess like kind of following
Metal
hit like a
Slug,
jetpack halfway through the
yeah,
game
like
and you're
Metal
on
Slug
a
wouldn't be a bad idea either because there's so
no.
many arcade games. I think we all remember putting the quarters in, and like I say,
Continuing on.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
after you
was
die.
always fun. Yeah.
Yep. That's where
Yeah.
I was at. 100%. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good choice. The other thing I kind of thought of, I guess there's a mini series of it was Crash Bandicoot.
Mm.
Was a really big fan, cartoon form.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what you would develop of it. Maybe something similar to, I don't know, Mario Bros. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was super iconic, especially on PlayStation 1.
Mhm.
I feel like I played that game super often. I'd go over to my cousin Ryan's house and I would play freaking Bandicoot for hours on end.
Yeah.
And I would have a ton of fun. So,
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot was another one that was iconic and would be good for kids, I feel like, because
Yeah.
it's just kind of missions. Missions get tougher over
Mhm.
time, and you can make a lot of the character.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Banjo-Kazooie. Do you remember that game?
Banjo-Kazooie, yeah. Oh my
That'd be a
God,
good one.
yes, yes, 100%.
Like I
Yep.
said, some of those old games.
Yeah, you brought us
I
back to N64, John.
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, your repertoire is huge, you
Uh,
know.
have you seen the Halo TV show?
No. And
No?
that's another great example because Halo is huge. Like
Yeah.
in high school, Halo 3, Halo 4. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have not watched like Master Chief dominate a show. That's
Yeah.
for
It
sure.
I started watching it, haven't finished it. It's okay. I think they could do a lot more. Because
What's it
I think
on?
it was on Paramount Plus, I think.
Oh, okay.
But I think they dropped it, but I heard a rumor that HBO Max picked it up. And I think if HBO Max picks it
Oh,
up, I think they could
that's big time.
develop an amazing TV. Our video game talk, adaptations into TV show movies. Like I said, it's
Mhm.
something that came up with Sonic. Let us know what you guys think. What other movie, TV show, video games would be good for that you guys want to see in the future. Because like I say, I think it's something like we've talked right now. It brings a lot of us closer together with our parents, with our kids, and it's gonna be here for a long time and something we'll always look back to. So, um, But yeah, but that's what we have for today's episode. Thank you to everybody listening, subscribers. We appreciate it. Please hit that subscribe button if you guys aren't subscribed. Please leave comments. We enjoy it.
Okay, I forget where it's at.
It's
No,
one over there. It's
is it
everywhere.
down? Yeah, it's everywhere.